I know, right? This immense tension between us, it's like we're picking up right where we left off. Exactly. I literally ended the stream last time, and we're picking up where we left off. Right here. But welcome, everyone. Welcome to another stream of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Last time, crazy things happened, and we're gonna continue on from here. Hope everyone is doing good. I got my guide up, because I probably don't know anything. And let's, continue. It's my duty to clear Prosecutor Blackwell of false accusations and end this insanity. But I have no intention of losing Miss Sykes either. She's a very promising young lawyer. I know without a doubt that Athena is innocent. But I don't think Prosecutor Blackwell did it either. So, do you have any clue who was responsible for the sabotage? At the very least, I know it wasn't Simon Blackwell. I don't know enough to identify the true culprit, but it's clear what that person is. To put it simply, a spy. The true culprit is a spy. It's going to be hard to convince anyone of that when I barely believe it myself. Hey, Mafia babe! Yep, Edgeworth is back. He's here. I take it, did you see the updates, or no? Or did you just find out that Edgeworth is back? But what's up? It's good to see ya. Hard to convince anyone, but I don't have a choice if I want to save Athena and Blackwell and expose the spy. Now then, Chief Prosecutor Edgeworth? Chief Prosecutor, by the way, Mafia babe. He's the Chief Prosecutor now. No need for the Chief Prosecutor bit, Your Honor. I am here as a simple prosecutor. Very well, your opening statement, please, Prosecutor Edgeworth. Hang on a minute, I want to save the game real quick. I want to do this right. You did? Did you see the other person that, returned? By any chance? This will be the test if you've seen the, update. Hey! Let's get ready to rumble! Yep. I'm gonna put Phoenix back in his, present costume. And Mikey Boo is here. What's up? It's good to see ya. Are you all ready for the things? Pearly. Yep, Pearly's back. Alright, kinda said you missed all that stream. I know. You left it like the perfect moment, but oh well. At least you can watch this one, right? Although I've been known of late to give an impressive opening statement myself. In all the trials I have ever seen, only the prosecution gives an opening statement. Of course, you're right. I was just joking, just having a little fun. So he wasn't doing them just out of fear. Interesting. Let's start with a brief overview of the UR1 incident. The incident occurred at the Cosmos Space Center 7 years ago, on October 7th. The victim, psychologist Metis Sykes, was killed in the robotics lab on the 4th floor. Athena's mother, Simon Blackwell, a young prosecutor at the time, was found guilty of the crime. Oh yeah, guys, I'll pose this to everyone here right now. Who do you think is the real, bad guy here? The final bad guy? Is it, Athena, Apollo, Trucy, Clay, who's dead? Is it Juniper, Solomon, Simon, Bobby, Candace, Yuri, one of the robots, or Aurora, Metis, who's also dead, Pearl, or Edgeworth? We have seen all the players, and the big bad guy is amongst. There were two deciding factors that led to his guilty verdict. You're honestly suspecting it might be Aura or Fulbright? We'll see. We'll see. I'm not gonna say. 1. Blackwell was the only person in the corridor to the lab at the time of the murder. And 2. This photo, which captured the moment of the crime. Who do you think, Mafia babe? Very incriminating evidence indeed. It would appear that the only conclusion is that Prosecutor Blackquill did indeed... Are you kidding me? I'm not accepting any conclusion of the kind. This opening statement is over. Now hurry up and call the witness. Aura is very sus, but you feel like the game is doing that on purpose, so you have no clue. Do you know Mikey Boo? I don't know if you've been following the case a lot, so if you don't know, don't worry about it. Excuse me, Miss Blackquill, but we must follow proper procedure for these things, you know? Or perhaps we should heed her wishes, Your Honor. She is the trial's sponsor, after all. Besides, the courtroom is chilly, and sitting for too long can't be good for your back. Oh, you are very kind to show such concern for the welfare of the elderly. As skilled as ever as playing the court puppeteer, I see. The prosecution calls its first witness. A witness who decided to bring forth new testimony after 7 long years. New testimony? And just who is this witness anyway? It's... this guy. Bobby Fulbright's the name, in justice we trust. What are you doing here? I'm just here to speak for the hostage-taker, Miss Aura Blackquill. She says she's too busy, what with confining and threatening the hostages and all. Hell, the 7 years as a head prosecutor must have done wonders for his... to his court skills. Oh, I bet. I bet he's incredible now. Confining and threatening the hostages and all. That doesn't seem to stop her from constantly chiming in through Clonko. I'm nothing more than an observer in this. Do your best. I'm watching you. Believe her brother innocent, Miss Blackquill has been conducting her own investigation. And though her current actions are hardly lawful, I think we can at least hear her theory. I have here Miss Blackwell's notes on the investigation she conducted. And I'll be giving testimony based on these notes. Here I go. Alright, Bobby, bring it on. Simon isn't the murderer. He was trying to cover for someone. Someone else was at the scene at the time that they say Simon committed the murder. I mean, if he really was out to steal that moon rock, then why the rolling case? Because he was using it to hide someone inside, that's why. And the only person small enough to fit inside that case was Athena Sykes. And that's Miss Blackwill's theory. It totally goes in the face of the official ruling, huh? About the case she mentioned, there were other rolling cases like that one in the lab, but they're not for traveling. They're apparently for moving parts and equipment. I vaguely remember seeing 3 cases, all different sizes. At the last trial, they thought that Prosecutor Blackquill used the case to steal the rock, and they had a perfectly good reason to think that too. You see, there's a security camera in the corridor that leads to the robotics lab, and that camera captured footage of Blackquill leaving the scene with the case. I can see why that footage helped to bring his trial to a quick end. It's very convincing, that's for sure. Updated! That case, by the way, was later discovered outside on the Space Center grounds. Speaking of after the incident, where was the defendant Athena Sykes found? She was found on the 5th floor of the Space Center in the Sykes family residence. Prosecutor Blackquill most likely brought her there after the incident. In addition, it's unknown where Miss Sykes was at the estimated time of death. Miss Sykes was too confused by the shock of her mother's death to give proper testimony, and there was no witness or evidence to tell us where she might have been. So what you're saying is Miss Sykes didn't have an alibi. That is what the evidence is saying, yes. I understand the reasoning behind the theory, but I'm far from convinced. The victim is the accused's mother. Are you actually claiming an 11-year-old girl? Of course, the girl had a very strong motive. Dr. Sykes was a psychologist who wrote many papers about speech and emotions. You're aware of Athena Sykes' special ability, aren't you, Your Honor? Are you referring to that therapy thing? Yes, she's done it quite a few times in court. The ability to read emotions from speech, and the subject of her mother's research. Well, as long as it benefits society, I don't see any particular problem researching it. I don't like where this is heading. Not one bit. Dr. Sykes was so intent on her research, she forced her daughter to undergo experiments. Prosecutor Edgeworth, are you seriously suggesting... I've done my best to be delicate, but even you can't deny it to be true, Mr. Wright. No longer able to withstand the anguish of the experiments, Miss Sykes felt her only choice was to kill her own mother. Ag! Look at this poor courtroom, guys. Order, order in the court. What a tragic story. I hardly want to believe it myself. But we must proceed. Mr. Wright, if you could, Detective Fulbright, please refer to the notes. Simon isn't trying to cover from someone. Someone else was at the scene of the crime at the time that they committed the murder. I mean, if he really was out to steal that moon rock, then why the rolling thing? Because using it to hide someone inside, that's why. And the only person small enough to fit inside that case was Athena Sykes! Hold it! But that's nothing more than conjecture, and it's hardly the only possibility. In that case, what do you think Prosecutor Blackwell had in that case? I think it was the moon rock. Objection! There were 3 cases at the scene, but Prosecutor Blackwell used the largest one. The moon rock was egg-shaped and only about 8 inches in diameter. It wouldn't have made any sense to use the largest case there just to move that rock. Objection! Be that as it may, it doesn't prove Miss Sykes was inside. Then let me ask you this. Can you come up with a better theory of what was in the case? Well, Mr. Wright, can you? Yikes, give a guy some time to think. Let's see. Should I try to bluff my way through what could have been in that case? Let's bluff. I know exactly what Prosecutor Blackwell was carried from the scene. Check to find something else that was missing, right? No sweat. Oh, I'd be very interested in hearing your theory. If it's true, that is. This is the crime scene photo that taken after Prosecutor Blackwell left, correct? Oh, all we have to do is compare this with the photo of Prosecutor Blackwell to see what's missing. If he took something with him, then it should be in one of these photos. Lady Luck, don't fail me now. Alright then, Mr. Wright, let us hear your theory. What did Prosecutor Blackwell take from the scene of the murder? I'm gonna assume this. I should save just in case the guide is wrong. I mean, in case I'm wrong. Take that! Please notice that there is a robot part on top of the cart in this photo. However, in this photo taken after the crime, the robot part is gone. In other words, this part is something that was taken from the scene of the crime. You do appear right. I don't see in the second picture. But it's just a piece of junk. How important could it be? Is it really just an insignificant robot part? Speaking of which... what are you looking at? I'm gonna start charging for each glance per eyeball. Stingy. What happened to the age of free previews? Your Honor, about this robot part, doesn't it look like it could be an arm from that robot there? Well, now that you mention it, it doesn't it? But the case is still too big to be practical for just the moon rock and a robot arm. But was it really just one arm and that was in there? If it wasn't Athena in the case, then maybe... I believe there was another robot at the scene that looks just like the one here. Your Honor, it's the defense's assertion that it was this other robot that was in the case. What? Objection! We can't be certain that part belonged to a robot. Yes, it looks like the arm of the one before us, but it could be something else entirely. Besides, it's wrapped entirely in bandaging, making it difficult to verify what it is. Objection! I know for a fact that it is a robot arm. I can even tell which robot it belonged to, just by looking at it. With this information, we can investigate whether it was there at the time or not. But Mr. Wright, I thought you were more of the technological illiterate type. When did you become such an expert? I feel somehow abandoned. Not to worry, Your Honor. I still know next to nothing about machines. But I know this piece of evidence proves which robot the arm belonged to. It's... Give me a second. Save the game just in case I'm wrong.
Take that!
The robot in this picture is named Ponko. But take a look at Ponko's arm. It was Miss Sykes who bandaged it up like that. She must have thought the machines heal in the same way that people do. What an adorable, naive mistake. It reminds me of my own grandchild. The robot arm at the crime scene had the same bandaging wrapped around it. In other words, this robot arm could belong to none other than Ponko. Order in the court, order, I say. Prosecutor Edgeworth, what do you have to say to this? I can see that the robot is about the same size as a child, but it cannot grab its knees and curl itself up into a ball. Even if it was the largest of the cases, the robot couldn't have possibly fit in there. The case comes up to about mid-thigh on Prosecutor Blackwell. I see your point. The robot is much taller than that. They've got me there. So then, did Prosecutor Blackwell make Ponko fit into the case by dismantling her? Of course Ponko would fit. All Prosecutor Blackwell had to do was dismantle her. Once taken apart, the robot could have easily fit inside that rolling case. It appears to be a robot assembly device. Disassemble anything in a flash, push the dismantle button. That sounds pretty neat. Can I push it, Mr. Nick? It sounds rather violent, but Mr. Wright does have a point there.
Objection!
Except that there was a body on the table where robots are dismantled and assembled. There would have been no room to take the robot apart.
Objection!
But what if it wasn't done on the table? What if the katana was used instead? You mean the sword? Yes, Your Honor. Miss Blackwell, I like your opinion as a woman of science. Isn't it true that the katana could have been used to take the robot apart? I suppose so. Their joints are of a very tough material. A blade could slice through them. Thank you for your expert opinion, Miss Blackwell. Thanks to you, we now know that the existence of the severed arm in this photo proves the Ponko was taken apart. In addition, since the rest of Ponko was not found at the scene, we can conclude that the true meaning of this photo is very different from the original interpretation. You can't mean... That's exactly what I mean. This photo does not capture the moment of the murder. It is instead a picture of the moment after the robot was sliced apart. The blood you see where the arm was cut off was transferred there by the bloody katana. Most likely, the rest of Ponko was scattered around Prosecutor Blackwell's feet. Not hearing this. Therefore, what was transported inside the case was not the defendant, but a robot. Miss Sykes never was at the scene at the time of the murder. Ag! My head! My head! My body! Where am I? Gah! Order! Order in the court! It's true that Ponko was found in pieces after the murder, and I'll admit I repaired her myself afterwards. Okay. Guess I'm finally making some progress. Hopefully I've gotten at least one step closer to proving both Athena and Prosecutor Blackwell innocent.
Objection!
Nope. Well played, Mr. Wright. You made your point abundantly clear. I can see that it wasn't the defendant inside the rolling case, but the robot. Alright, what's going on here? It's never good when he plays things this straight. Does the prosecution withdraw its claim that the defendant was carried from the scene? No, Your Honor. My claim hasn't changed.
Objection!
Your Wi-Fi? Oh no, your Wi-Fi's being annoying. Hope to see you soon, Mafia. But Ponko and Miss Sykes could have both been inside that case, couldn't it have been? The notion that the case was used to carry Miss Sykes and was Miss Blackwell's theory. I have been of a different opinion from the outset. Now I finally have the opportunity to voice my theory. Thanks to the defense. Edgeworth. He's been one step ahead of me this whole time. In that case, how do you propose the defendant left the crime scene? Simple. The footage only shows Prosecutor Blackwell from behind. What's more, he's holding his arm in front of his body as if he were holding something or someone. That's hardly evidence. I have proof. The surcoat Prosecutor Blackwell was wearing. The victim's blood was found on the front of it and the stain has a highly distinctive shape. A blood stain? With a distinct shape? Please continue, Prosecutor Edgeworth. 7 years ago, the defendant was known to constantly wear a certain item, of which there is only one in the world, a special pair of headphones made just for her. She always wore these big, heavy-looking headphones. She said her mother made them for her as part of her research. Analysis showed the bloodstain to be in the exact same shape as these headphones. In other words, there was no mere blood splatter. The blood went from the victim's body to the headphones, and then was imprinted onto Prosecutor Blackwell's coat like a stamp. A most gruesome stamp indeed. Blackwell carried Miss Sykes, who had been hit by splatter, away from the crime scene. This proves that Athena Sykes was, without question, present at the crime scene. And that concludes the prosecution's argument.
Nah.
Order! If the defendant was indeed at the scene, it deepens the suspicion against her.
Objection!
But we've also shown that the robot was there at the scene as well.
Objection!
I hope you're not making the ridiculous claim that a simple robot was the real murderer. I don't really think that, no, but you can't say the possibility isn't there. Detective Fulbright, was the robot questioned at the time? No, I don't see any record of it. I believe it was considered unrelated to the case. But as it turned out, the robot was actually integrally related. Hey, Stars over Hyrule! How you doing today? How's your objections going? Your Honor, the defense would like to call Ponko to the stand. A robot witness? There you go, Captain Chips. Now the robot witness is here. Order in the court. Prosecutor Edgeworth, what do you think about this? Mr. Wright has called all manner of witnesses to the stand over the years. So why not a robot? Nothing surprises me any more with him. Very well, I will allow the witness. Bailiff, please summon the robot named Ponko. Objections are going well. I'm doing great. All is well with game. Witness, please state your name and occupation.
My name is not Witness. My name is Ponko.
Yes, I realize that. But when you are at the witness stand, you are the witness.
No, I'm not. I'm Ponko. Say it with me. Ponko.
What an utterly inflexible little robot. You're the last person who should be calling anyone inflexible. Once again, Edgeworth just can't do the names well. You remind me of my grandchild who just learned his own name. Oh, how precious. All right, Ponko. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Questions? You have questions? Hooray! What are your questions?
I want to know if you were there at the scene of the murder of Metis Sykes. It was 7 years ago, on the 7th of October, around 2 p.m., in the robotics lab. He gets dark circles pretty quickly. Yes, he does.
Certainly. Just one moment. Searching data. Search complete. Yes, I was there in the robotics lab.
It would seem this robot's testimony is necessary to this case after all. This is great. I just knew Ponko must have seen something important. A murder committed right before this poor little girl's eyes. It's inexcusable. The judge seems ready to adopt Ponko as another grandchild. So, little Ponko, do you think you can give us your testimony today? Ponko on the chair? What's up? Streaking. 7-streak win. Woo! That's pretty good. And you're back. Welcome back, Mafia. Mafia, Ponko's on the stand now.
I went to the robotics lab at around 2 p.m. for my regular recharge. Just as I was about to charge up, Athena came in and hugged Mommy Metis, and then Mommy Metis fell down. After that, I was recharging, so I don't know anything. After I charged up, I was cleaning the room, and Mr. Simon came in. And then an error occurred. There is no data after that point.
Well, it sounds like the defendant was, without question, at the scene. However, it doesn't appear that the witness saw the actual moment of the murder. I disagree. This testimony shows that the defendant did indeed commit the crime. What? At the end of the day, we mustn't forget that this witness is still a machine, being a robot, and its understanding and capacity to express itself are limited. So what are you suggesting? The witness's statement need to be interpreted. For example, the terms hugged and then later fell down. Adults don't usually fall down after being hugged by a child. They don't? But... Yes, what this witness's statements are telling us is... that the defendant stabbed the victim with the murder weapon during this moment. What?
What?
Before Miss Sykes hugged Dr. Sykes, did the two of them converse?
Yes, they did. They spoke to each other very loudly, but I don't know what they said. Athena is usually so quiet, so I was surprised.
Spoke very loudly. We can interpret this to mean they argued. I see. Murder after a heated argument, and then the victim fell down. I agree that it does sound like a reasonable interpretation. However, Panko doesn't seem to remember anything that happened after that.
When I am recharging, I go into sleep mode, but I remember everything before that. I have a very good memory.
You may as well admit defeat now, Wright. A cross-examination would be useless. Don't be ridiculous. A cross-examination is never useless. Until now, think about it. Robots don't lie. This robot is both an important witness and valuable evidence at the same time. Nevertheless, I will have my cross-examination. I see you haven't changed. You never were one to worry about wasting time. Very well, even if it may be a waste of time, you may proceed, Mr. Wright. I'll show you both just how fruitful any cross-examination can be. They don't fall down from being hugged.
What?
I know, right? That's crazy. I fall down all the time. Okay.
But to change up, Athena came in and hugged Mommy Metis, and then Mommy Metis fell down. After that, I was recharging, so I don't know anything.
Hold it!
I don't want to delve too deeply here, but could you tell us how the victim appeared and acted at this moment?
Mommy Metis was very surprised when she was hugged. I heard her heart pound.
Her heart? Mr. Wright, have you forgotten about this document we found in the robotics lab? These robots have a heartbeat detection system. Now that he mentions it, I do remember reading something like that there. They detect the presence of people by the sound of their heartbeats. But wait a minute. That means, if Dr. Sykes really did die at this moment... Panko, how was Dr. Sykes after she fell down? Could you still hear the sound of her heartbeat?
Let's see. The moment she fell, her heart was pounding. After that, I don't know. I started recharging just then.
Of all the unlucky timing, if you had heard anything after that, it could have possibly proved that the hug wasn't actually the moment of the murder.
I'm very sorry. I'm afraid I don't know. I'm very sorry.
The robot is designed to go into sleep mode automatically, so it can't be helped. But it does appear that it detected an increased heart rate at the moment of the stabbing. Nah.
After Mommy Metis' heart started pounding in surprise, she fell by the window. It was the round window on the workbench side of the room.
The workbench, huh? Panko must be talking about that table to the right of where that giant robot is now. Is there something critical in Panko's statement just now? There is something. Your Honor, I believe this statement is critical. I'd like it added to her testimony. Very well. Panko, could you please add that statement to your testimony? That's a good little girl. Good little robot girl.
Mommy Metis fell down near the round window on the workbench side of the room.
That's nice. Okay. What about this? Panko, your statement may have just inspired a breakthrough.
I was helpful? Hooray! I'm so happy!
Just to be sure, let's go over it again, okay? The victim fell near the window on the workbench side of the room. However, her body was discovered on the operating table. But the operating table and the workbench are two different locations. Exactly, Your Honor. We just learned a new crucial fact. What could explain the two very different locations of the body? I'll tell you what. The victim moved! An 11-year-old girl couldn't have moved the heavy body of an adult. I don't know, she could be tough. So the only explanation is that the victim walked to the operating table herself. In other words, what Panko observed near the workbench couldn't possibly have been the moment of the murder. Whew, I am very relieved to hear that. Glad to know that the murder wasn't committed in front of little Panko here. Yes, as we just heard in the testimony, Miss Sykes hugged her mother, nothing more. Right. It's been 8 years, but you're still just as green as ever. Green? But I can't recall ever seeing Mr. Wright in anything but a blue suit. Priorities? Priorities, Your Honor. I know, right? Hey, blue's my favorite color. What can I say? If the defendant couldn't move the body herself, she could have had it moved for her. Moved for her? But Miss Sykes and Dr. Sykes were the only ones there. I agree. Since this robot is equipped with a heartbeat detection system, it would have been aware of another person's presence if someone else had been there. We can therefore conclude that the defendant and the victim were the only ones present. Then who do you suggest move the body? Don't you know it's in the nature of a robot to help people do things? Miss Panko, allow me to ask you a question.
My name is Panko. Say it with me. Panko.
I believe you said you were cleaning after Dr. Sykes fell down. Did you happen to move something large onto the operating table?
Yes, I did. Athena asked me to.
Athena asked you to? And what did you move, little Panko?
I don't know. Unless something has an ID tag, I can't tell what it is.
An ID tag, you say?
Yes, a tag with a barcode on it. We robots scan them to tell us what a thing is.
A paper in the lab did mention something about that. Recognizes people by scanning their spacesuit or uniform jacket ID tag, it said. So it would appear that Miss Panko here can't identify what it moved.
My name is Panko.
But we humans have the power to imagine what it was, do we not? What, we do? Well, I do at the very least. Miss Panko, on the defendant's command, move the body onto the operating table. Gag! Panko, did you really move Dr. Sykes' body? This is really important. Isn't there any way you could tell?
I don't know. Without an ID tag, I can't tell.
Give it up, Wright. If the victim's heart was stopped, the robot's detection system would be useless. Furthermore, Dr. Sykes usually wore her white coat while she was working. She kept the jacket with her ID tag on it, draped over a chair in the robotics lab, and only wore it for special occasions. In other words, the victim wasn't wearing her ID tag at the time. From the robot's point of view, her body was simply just another object.
Objection!
But Panko was equipped with a facial recognition system. She really did move the victim. She would have recognized the body as Dr. Sykes. But she didn't, so that means...
Objection!
A face can easily be covered with a piece of cloth, a mask, or anything else for that matter. With her facial features hidden, the robot wouldn't be able to tell it was Dr. Sykes. He's right. To summarize, Miss Sykes stabbed her mother near the workbench. Then, using the robot, she moved the body to the table, where she removed the sword and was stained in blood. Order! But if that's the case, then I have a question. Why did the defendant move the body to the operating table in the first place? You want a reason? Very well. What? You can't possibly have an explanation. Your emotions blind you to the truth. You could learn a lot from our robot friends. Calm and rational thought will open your eyes to the truth in front of you, Mr. Wright. Panko, her name? and panko, a type of breadcrumb, are pronounced the same. Panko and panko. Very cool. Now then, do you remember the operating table's one special feature? I believe I read that robots can be assembled and disassembled there, isn't that right? That's right, and to the defendant, who was just a child at the time, the table was like a magic box that could make robots appear or disappear in seconds. But in the end, my mom just put her on the operating table and fixed her in a flash. I was so impressed by what my mom did. I even asked her if she would put me on the table and fix me if I ever got hurt. Looked just like magic to me, what she could do. This is about to get a little bit dark, guys. You can't possibly be suggesting this young, sheltered girl had a difficult time distinguishing robots from people. But take a look at Panko's arm. It was Miss Sykes who bandaged it up like that. She must have thought the machines heal in the same way that people do. What an adorable, naive mistake. It reminds me of my own grandchild. No way. I refuse to believe it. Miss Sykes made a childish, naive, and cruel mistake. She thought that if a robot could be dismantled and vanish without a trace... Prosecutor Edgeworth, if you're about to claim what I think you are, I demand that you word it as delicately as you can. With all due respect, Your Honor, all I can do is present the truth as it stands. The reason the defendant moved the victim's body to the operating table...
Hold it!
No, don't say another word. Just stop. Was to dismantle the evidence so that she could get away with her crime. That can't be true. Order in the court. Order in the court, I say. Edgeworth, she was just a little kid. How can you say such a horrible thing? Horrible? Like I said, you're just as green as ever. I came here today as a prosecutor to seek only the truth. No more, no less. My theory is simply the result of a rational consideration of every possibility.
Objection!
But dismantling isn't the table's only function. It can make repairs as well. It's conceivable that Miss Sykes moved her mother to the table in order to fix her. Suppose that could be another way of interpreting it. But dismantle or repair, it doesn't matter either way. What do you mean? After murdering her mother, Miss Sykes may have come to her senses. Hey, Morph, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the Ace Attorneys. Perhaps she did want to make it appear as if it had never happened. And that's why she tried to repair her mother. Yes, that one possible explanation. But we mustn't forget the facts of this case. The victim was observed to fall down after being hugged by the defendant. And the body was moved per the defendant's command. It's a different story? Nope, same story. Same story. It's the big finale. These two facts, the facts that indicate the defendant's guilt, remain unchanged. This just can't be true. Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence to refute the prosecution's claim? Evidence? Right, let's see. I can't think of any. I'm afraid I don't have any evidence. Since becoming the chief prosecutor, I've learned that the truth isn't always pretty. Now accept the truth, Mr. Wright. Your subordinate murdered her own mother. Your Honor, the prosecution demands a verdict. The hostages have suffered enough. What a terrible and tragic conclusion. If the defense has no counter-argument, I see no further need to prolong this trial. Edgeworth's argument seems solid enough, but there's no way Athena could have ever done anything like that. What do I do? Has to be something, but I can't think of a single thing. You just found and killed a spider. Mafia baby, you are accused of the murder of the spider. How do you plead? Oh. Who did that? Prosecutor Blackwell. This is quite the farce you are conducting here. I could die from laughter. Guilty. Alright, guilty. Sentenced to... I don't know. Rest in peace, Spider. I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you're still alive, Mafia. I could die from laughter. Prosecutor Blackquill? What are you talking about? What I'm talking about is that your argument is based on an entirely false premise. Go on, we're listening. Could this be the miracle I need? But what is Prosecutor Blackquill trying to pull here? 7 years. For 7 long years. This case has been on my mind. Not for an instant did I not think of it. I'm the one who killed my mentor, and don't think you can alter that fact now. Your baldness, I will take to the stand, and I won't be take no for an answer. Of course, Prosecutor Blackquill, please go ahead.
Here we go.
I went to the Cosmos Space Center with the intention of killing Dr. Sykes. But when I got to the robotics lab, I found Athena there instead. I would not be swayed from my purpose, so I waited for Dr. Sykes to return. And then I committed the act. How cathartic it was. But little Ponko here witnessed the victim falling. In other words...
Objection!
I don't need any of your other words, old man. I can guess what happened. Which would be? She fell means she fell, merely that. A mother and child fooling around. Perhaps she tripped. Not that it matters. When I entered the lab, there was no trace of Dr. Sykes to be seen. There were no dead body either. Of course, meaning she must have left the room. So, the murder occurred after the time period Ponko described in her testimony? You should hardly take stock in the words of a wind-up toy.
Objection!
Then how do you explain the fact that the defendant had the robot move something? Athena was always tinkering with robots on the operating table to amuse herself, and she always had Ponko move the heavy ones for her. That day was no different. Ponko had moved a heavy robot for Athena. This is awful. What he's saying seems to make sense, and yet...
Objection!
Prosecutor Blackquill, are you trying even now to turn away from the truth? Don't you realize that we could bring the dark age of the law to a close today?
Objection!
You expect too much from me. I'm just a murderer beyond redemption. Why don't you just let me go so I can settle down into hell? Nah. Prosecutor Blackquill's execution is tomorrow. If the truth doesn't come out now, it's all over. Are you saying that the little girl and the robot had nothing to do with the murder? That's right. So let's hear your verdict. If we don't hurry, I might miss the ferry across the Styx. Don't you dare, Judge. Don't forget I have hostages over here. And Simon, how long are you going to cover for her? Miss Blackquill. Forgive me, Aura. I never wanted you to do anything like this for me. But you agreed to this trial. If you have a counter-argument, then present your evidence. That's the rule of the courtroom. Isn't that right, Chief Prosecutor? Blackquill. You selfish. Well, to be frank, I don't like this, but it's my duty to make a decision. If no one has a counter-argument, I will announce my verdict. Is this really happening? Is it really going to end just like it did 7 years ago? I wanted to do it so bad. Even now, I want to fly out of here and go save him. No, I can't tell her. But how can I lie to Athena? If I can't prove Prosecutor Blackquill's innocence in this trial, I don't think Athena will ever forgive me. I can't let this happen. But I just don't have the evidence to counter Prosecutor Blackquill's testimony. Hold it? Who did it this time? Oh! Athena, what are you feeling okay? I can hear it. I can hear the voice of his heart. He's hiding something. If he really is, I could sure use Athena's help here. Her power might be just the thing to get us through this.
Objection!
Hey, best viewers. Welcome to Streambo. What's up?
Athena, how the hell are you here? She just is. Thank you, Mafia. Thank you for expelling this evildoer from our sights, Mafia. Oh, my God. Oh, thank you so much. Sykes, Dono. No need for you to chime in here. Just accept that you're innocent.
Objection!
These past 7 years, they've been just as hard on me, you know.
What are you talking about?
Do you remember that horrible, horrible trial? Please, you have to listen to me! He didn't kill her! It started screaming that he didn't kill her! Listen to me, you fuck!
Yeah, even now, every time I stand in a courtroom, it comes back to haunt me. Not being heard no matter how hard you try. Feeling so helpless. Oh, not you again. Caught in people's stares, so scared that it feels like your chest is in a vise. This vise? I'm terrified of courtrooms. I want to run out of that door even now. And yet you found a way to keep your fears at bay and become a lawyer.
Thanks. That's because one day I came to realize that I had to fight. I couldn't give up. I exercised hard and I studied hard. I wanted to become the strongest lawyer I could be.
This day has finally come, the day I've been looking forward to with all my heart. This is why I became a lawyer. This is why I studied psychology. It was all to save you from this false conviction. But Miss Sykes, do you realize what it would mean? You are the accused, after all. If you prove Prosecutor Blackwell innocent, then... The only thing that matters is the truth. It's my duty to find out what that truth is. Simon, please give me this chance. The chance to shake off this fear that's been with me for 7 years and to face the truth. Athena is being so brave confronting her past like this. This might really be the last chance to save them both. Prosecutor Blackwell, please testify one more time about the incident 7 years ago. Fine, but your efforts will surely be in vain, for I am not a man who can be cut down easily. Here we go, Simon. Let me hear the voice of your heart. Here we go again. I went to the Cosmos Space Center with the intention of killing Dr. Sykes. But when I got to the robotics lab, I found Athena there instead. I was absolutely pissed off, guys. But for some reason, I was happy.
Got it!
This feeling of happiness, even though the person you were looking for wasn't there, you felt happy. Why is that? Simple. When I was looking for Athena and hadn't found her yet, I grew worried. So when I saw her in the robotics lab, I was happily relieved. Merely that. Huh. Just now you said that you went into the Space Center to kill Dr. Sykes. But the first thing you did was look for her daughter instead? I had no intention of harming Athena, so I wanted to confirm that she was safe first. It was just part of my plan, nothing contradictory about that. Gah! The second I find an inconsistency, he cuts it down. Simon knows the principles of analytical psychology. There's less noise now, but I don't see any instabilities we can latch onto. I was afraid of that. I'll just have to keep chipping away at him, and then, bit by bit. Could you update his testimony, Athena? You got it, boss. Went to the Cosmos Space Center with the intention of killing Dr. Sykes. Lol. La la la. When I found Athena in the robotics lab, I was relieved. But I would not be swayed from my purpose, so I waited for Dr. Sykes to return. And when she did, I plunged the katana in. And when I did, oh, did I feel sad.
Got it!
Not even you can falsify your emotions, Prosecutor Blackwell. What? When you said that you killed Dr. Sykes in your testimony, you felt sadness. Why would someone who had lain in wait to kill her would be sad at her death? Such an obvious attack. Yes, I felt sadness, but it wasn't for her. I felt sorrow for Athena and her circumstances. Gah! He can't be talking about that, can he? I was just a convenient subject for her research. Hello. I'm Stiller for Life. Welcome back. It's the illegal of charging testimony without judge approval. Well, it's different this time around. It's different because there's a feeling thing going on. But what's up? How you doing? Dr. Sykes was so intent on her research, she forced her daughter to undergo an experiment. My objective was to save Athena from an obsessive scientist who treated her own daughter like a research subject. What? I went to the psychology lab first. That's where I would usually find Athena playing. By the way, it's killer spelled with a C? Oh, why is it spelled like that then? You silly person. You silly spelled with a C. But yeah, welcome on in. Was Athena being subjected to yet another experiment? I thought as I went to see. Conveniently, Athena had cried herself to sleep, so all I had to do was wait and kill. So that's why he was relieved when he saw Athena. But is this story really true? I'm not sure how much to believe. Mr. Wright? How are you doing, Athena? Still hanging in there? I'm a lot stronger than I look, boss. Now take a look at this. The noise level actually increased. Name has a C in it. Your name? Oh, gotcha. I see. It went up? I've never seen that do that before. Prosecutor Blackwell is lying somewhere in his testimony. As a matter of fact, he's piling lie on top of lie in an attempt to make his claims sound more believable. He's trying to eat even harder to suppress his true feelings, and that's what's causing the noise. How in the world should I approach this? An evidence-based approach might work if I can find a contradiction. Otherwise, I should look for an inconsistency in his emotions. There are no flaws in my testimony, and his baldness is prepared to give his verdict. Give up on this lost cause and let the law free me of these chains already.
Objection!
I don't think so. Not while I'm around. Now, contradictory testimony or inconsistent emotions. What should I tackle first? How about emotions? Okay, let's look for inconsistent emotions. Got it, boss. But if you want to try looking for a contradictory statement instead, just let me know. I can easily switch over. Info update. I hurried over and opened the door to the robotics lab. Okay. Why are you so surprised over that, mister? You're gonna lurk? Alrighty. Lurk away, my friend. I'ma play something or other. Have fun. How odd. Why would you register surprise at opening the door to the lab? Tisk. Alright, fine. I'll explain if I must. What surprised me was Ponko. That toy figure attacked me. Dr. Sykes knew full well of my plan to rescue Athena, but she couldn't stand guard over her daughter 24 hours a day. So Dr. Sykes had Ponko do it? That's right. She ordered Ponko to forcibly remove me from on site. So I slashed Ponko up with the katana that was there in the lab. That rickety old puppet wasn't worthy of that fine blade. Mr. Wright, it's happening again. There's even more noise now. Well, it's at 100% now. What's going on here? Whenever we find an opening, he covers it up with lies. We'll never get rid of the noise at this rate. It's pretty hard to keep telling coherent lies like that. His mind and will really are as sharp as strong as a katana. Alright, what should I tackle first this time? His testimony. Yeah. I think there might be an inconsistency in Prosecutor Blackwell's testimony. Alright, let's give it a thorough check then. with a feeling of dread. I open the robotics thing just in case.
Okay. Info update.
Panko attacked me. I retaliated by cutting it into pieces.
Alright.
Objection!
Compounding lies with more lies is never the answer, Prosecutor Blackquill.
Take a look at this photo. That's the photo of the supposed moment of the murder, isn't it? How many more times must I see that which damned me for my sin? The ironic thing is, I think this picture is actually going to be your savior now. See the blood stain at the end of Panko's arm where it was severed with the katana? I hope you aren't claiming it's the robot's blood, Mr. Wright.
No, most likely the blood was transferred there from the bloody katana.
The katana already had blood on it? So then it must have been the victim's blood?
That's right, but if that's the case, we found a glaring inconsistency.
Nah.
You said in your testimony that you cut up Panko and then you killed Dr. Sykes. But in spite of that, the victim's blood is already on Panko's arm in this picture.
What? But that couldn't be.
Exactly. In order for the blood to have transferred from the sword to Panko's arm, the victim must have been stabbed first before the robot was slashed. In other words, Prosecutor Blackquill, your entire testimony is nothing but one giant ball of lies.
Gah!
Tell the court the truth, Prosecutor Blackquill, now!
You have no idea what you're doing.
His voice. There's so much discord. I'm hearing not just one or two, but a bunch of rampaging emotions there. It's hard to describe. It's like a violent whirlpool or something.
Phoenix Wright, you will pay for this. Never have I been forced to reveal so much, but the rest I'll take to my grave.
Hello. Steppin'.
Welcome to the stream. It's good to see you, D-Stampin'. Hope all is well. You're on the witness stand. You're obligated to tell the truth. Isn't the rule of the courtroom?
Isn't that? All of these complex emotions, they seem to be flowing from one source. I think whatever he really saw that day is what's causing these feelings.
Following the sound of crying, I opened the lab door and then I saw it, the terrible scene. But before I could, lead the fellow Athena out of there, cursed by luck, Dr. Sykes came in. I had no choice but to kill my mentor.
Alright.
I saw it, that terrible scene.
Was it Athena? Yes. Got it. When you opened the door and saw Athena, you became overwhelmed by your emotions. Isn't that right, Prosecutor?
You should know better. And though it's pathetic, I admit I'm terrified to speak of it.
Prosecutor Blackquill, Miss Sykes is innocent. I will always believe that with all my heart. Now, can you find it within yourself to believe in me too?
Athena is innocent, huh? Can you honestly say you believe that to be true, right, Dono?
I give you my word. Now tell me what you really saw when you opened the door. Good. You're doing good?
Awesome. Curse you, Phoenix Wright! It was a tragedy, one I'll never forget. When I arrived at the lab, Dr. Sykes was already dead.
We need the truth. We need the truth. Here's the truth, guys. You ready?
She was lying on the operating table, while the bloody katana lay on the floor. And standing between the two, covered in blood, was Athena. She smiled, with a far-off look in her eyes, as she sweetly said, Oh dear.
Something's wrong with Mom, so I'm taking her apart to fix her.
Welp. That's what I saw, and now you have it. The truth that you so desperately wanted. That's not the right truth. No. Prosecutor Blackwell finally tells the truth, and this is what it is? It's beyond devastating. I tried to take my mother apart? I... No! Yeah, that's not good. So, it was me. I'm the one who killed my mother. Athena! As I said, Wright, the truth isn't always pretty. Murder, disassembly on an operating table, a scientist using her daughter as a guinea pig. Sadly, it appears that my theory was correct after all.
Objection!
It's true that Athena didn't like her mother's research, but... You dare cast aspersions on my mentor by claiming Athena was used in such a manner? Dr. Sykes could be awkward with people. She loved her daughter with all her heart.
She loved me?
Your mother hated to see you suffer because you could hear the voices of people's hearts. She wanted to set you free of your pain, so she worked tirelessly on her research. Do you remember those headphones you hated so much?
Yes, my head hurt every time I wore them.
No, Athena. It's just the opposite. They emitted sound waves to nullify emotional input from the voices of people around you. Your power was much stronger than it is now, and those headphones were what enabled you to carry on with everyday life.
No, that can't be true. Then why? Why would I have done something like that to somebody who loved me so much?
Her love for you was real, that I can guarantee. That's why I knew that what happened had to be some kind of mistake. I couldn't let you be punished for it. So you took the blame yourself. You and your mentor are more alike than you know. So sad, I know. Ponka was a witness, and so I put it in the case, held Athena close, and vacated the lab. I threw Ponko away in the boarding lounge trash chute, and I hid the case on the Space Center grounds. It would seem that we now have all the facts of this case.
No, not yet. It can't end like this.
Do not disgrace yourself, Mr. Wright. The truth has been revealed. Or are you the type of man to turn your back to things that disagree with you?
I'm not, but this... I can't give up now. I have to say something or anything, even if it's a bluff. I've always managed to pull through that way in the past. I have to make it work.
The defense is, prepared to present evidence.
Mr. Wright. Yes, Athena?
It's okay. You can stop now. I don't want you or anyone else
to suffer any longer for my sake. Athena, what are you saying?
I killed my mother. That's the truth.
It's just like Prosecutor Edgeworth said. We have to face it, no matter how much it hurts.
I admit my guilt.
But could I please be granted just one chance to tell everyone what I recall?
It appears Miss Sykes is much braver than you, Mr. Wright. What say you, Your Honor? In light of her courage, will the court give Miss Sykes this opportunity to confess? Very well. Then, if you would, please take the stand, Miss Sykes.
Thank you for letting me do this, Prosecutor Edgeworth. And thank you, Mr. Wright and Prosecutor Blackquill, for letting the truth be known. Now we can finally move forward, and everyone's suffering can come to an end.
Athena, Prosecutor Blackquill will be cleared and the dark age of the law can come to an end. Yes, admit your guilt, and bring everything to its conclusion.
I killed my mother. My memory is still a little hazy, but there's no question I remember it. I remember the weight of the weapon in my hands, and the feeling of it stabbing in deep. And I remember the warmth of her blood as it flowed down the handle onto my fingers. Your Honor, please find me guilty.
I dare say these are all memories that no one but the murderer would have.
I see. Thank you for your confession. I believe this trial has gone on long enough. But before we conclude, does anyone have a counter-argument?
Objection!
Huh? Well, what?
I do, Your Honor.
But, Mr. Wright... But, Mr. Wright, why? I killed her. I remember it now. Any counter-arguments now is pointless.
Objection!
Pointless. Don't tell me you've forgotten one of the basic tenets of lawyering. Always believe in the client to the bitter end. Athena, you are not a murderer.
Objection!
I said that you never changed, but could you have actually regressed in these 8 years? I won't stand for your childish emotionalism getting in the way of the truth. Emotionalism? Don't lecture me on matters of the heart, Edgeworth. Because I can see straight into a person's soul.
Oh!
Oh, yeah. The black psyche locks, remember?
I did a little research. I'll look into those special psyche locks you mentioned, Mr. Nick. Athena isn't trying to keep anything from you on purpose. For some reason, part of her heart and her memories are sealed off, even from herself.
There's still a chance, somewhere deep in Athena's heart. There might still be a memory that not even she knows about yet. It might be like looking for a grain of sand somewhere in the cosmos, but still, that memory might contain a new fact that could prove her innocence. Hope for everyone's sake that you are not just bluffing, Mr. Wright. Now then, is there not a problem with Miss Sykes' confession?
My memory's still a little hazy, but there's no question I remember it. I remember the weight of the weapon in my hands, and the feeling of it stabbing in deep. I remember the warmth of her blood as it flowed down the handle onto my fingers. My fingers.
There's definitely something wrong with her memory of the event, I can just tell. If there's a problem with her confession, please prove it to the court.
No! It is... the katana.
Ponko did it? It's Ponko.
Oh... The katana isn't on the handle.
We'll see.
Take that!
Let's see.
Isn't that the katana the defendant used to kill the victim, Mr. Wright?
I respectfully and vehemently disagree, Your Honor.
But I remember it. I remember holding the weapon and getting my blood on my fingers. Fingers.
It's exactly my point. If blood really did get on your fingers while you were holding it, there should be blood on the handle. But please focus on the handle of this sword. There's not a trace of blood on it. And therefore, this is clearly a contradiction of the facts.
You're right.
Oh my! Oh my god!
Objection!
The defendant must have simply confused a portion of her memories.
She mentioned it was hazy to begin with, and we can't mull over every minor detail.
Objection!
But she also said there's no question I remember it, a fact we can't ignore.
In that case, why don't you explain what this contradiction with her memories means?
Gladly. Just give me a sec to think of something.
I want to say that Athena didn't stab anyone, but she did say herself that she remembers the feeling of committing the act.
Think, Phoenix, think.
What could the contradiction with Athena's memories mean?
It means... The defendant used a different weapon! You're right. Nice 1 star. You're right. W-R, as Phoenix is spelled. Miss Sykes said blood flowed down the handle, but Katana's handle is spotless. So, doesn't it follow that the defendant must have used a weapon other than the katana? What are you up to this time? This is it. This time I found just the thing that ended Athena's nightmare for good. The weapon that took Dr. Sykes' life was the katana, that much is for sure. So if I can show a possibility that Athena didn't use the katana, it could help me prove her innocent. A different weapon, you say? What weapon would that be exactly? Right, of course you would ask that. I can see you're floundering, Mr. Wright. Did you speak without thinking again, as always? How does he do that? But I can't back down. Not here, not now. That's right, I did. Because it's so obvious it doesn't require any thought. What did you say? Okay, so maybe that was an exaggeration, but there has to be something. Was there some other bladed weapon in the robotics lab that day? Maybe there's something in one of the crime scene photos. Wait a minute, there is something. There is a high probability that that was in the lab. I don't have that particular weapon here in the evidence right now, but I do have a piece of evidence just like it. Other than the katana, this is another blade that may have been at the crime scene. Second, it's the utility knife.
Take that!
But that's the murder weapon in the Clay Terran case. Yes, this is the knife that took Mr. Terran's life, but there must have been a knife just like this at the crime scene at the scene 7 years ago as well. Toolkits containing utility knives like this one are issued to Space Center employees, and a robotics lab especially would naturally have one of these around.
Objection!
But, besides the katana, no other bladed weapon was found at the site. It was in the investigation report, if you didn't know.
Objection!
Oh, of course I knew that, once you told me just now. Then here's something else you already knew. There was a toolkit at the scene, but it didn't contain any blades. Here is a photo of its contents. Oh, you're right, I don't see any kind of bladed tool. Fine, but isn't there something odd about the design on these handles? Therefore, there were no other bladed weapon in the room.
Objection!
I disagree. This toolkit contained a knife. And what proof do you have of that? Don't tell me your eye for art is failing you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You are the last person in the world who should be criticizing my aesthetic sense. Now, he is simply watching out for your ocular health. Please proceed, Mr. Wright. Notice that the handles of each of these tools have a sort of design on them? Ah, I see that they do. But what's the significance does that have? It's clear that one of the tools is missing from this kit. If we rearrange the tools into a specific pattern, we might be able to tell which part of the overall design is missing. Is that the theory your pitiful sense of aesthetics helped you come up with? Edgeworth, just let it go, man. Show the court then, if you would. What pattern or design would we see if we were to rearrange the tools? We would see the robots with a heart.
Take that!
And what design is this supposed to represent? The Gyaxa logo, Your Honor. It's on all of the Space Center's documents and pamphlets. As you're aware, Gyaxa is the program that operates the Cosmos Space Center. Look at how brightly the Gyaxa logo shines in the sunlight above the entranceway. Really dig the stars and rocket motif it's got going. Gyaxa, huh? Isn't that the new name of the Federal Space R&D program? Gyaxa! Yep. I think I see it now, but... Yes, with just the tools shown in this photo, the red A part of the logo is missing. And this is where the murder weapon from the Terran case comes into play. If we were to place this utility knife in the open slot... Ta-da! It would complete the Gyaxa logo. So it would. Then that means... Admit it, Mr. Edgeworth. My aesthetic sense is keener than yours, and while you're at it, Admit that the weapon Miss Sykes used could have been this one. No! Order in the court. Miss Sykes confessed to having a memory of the stabbing the victim. Admittedly, Miss Sykes most likely did stab someone using the utility knife. However, the weapon used to kill Dr. Sykes was the katana. Therefore, the act of stabbing that Miss Sykes remembers couldn't be that of Dr. Sykes. Very well. Let's suppose for a minute that Miss Sykes did use the utility knife. Tell me, how does that change anything? Come again? What if the katana was the only being used as a decoy to conceal the true murder weapon? I'll have a chicken sandwich? What? You'll have a chicken sandwich? Nice. Don't be ridiculous, or are you changing the premise of your entire argument? Order? Oh, gotcha. Order up. I am merely offering a hypothetical situation derived from your logic. Miss Sykes could have put blood on the katana to make it look like the murder weapon, and then conceal the knife on her personage until Blackwell carried her away. That does clear up the contradiction between Miss Sykes' memories and the evidence. If in fact the murder weapon is a utility knife, then fate has dealt you a cruel hand, for you have just proven the knife's existence to the rest of us with your own logic.
Objection!
The prosecution is attempting to lead the court.
Objection!
You're the one attempting to lead the court, Mr. Wright, by forcing us to forget the facts of this case. Need I remind you that there were only 2 people in the lab at the time of the murder, and that the defendant herself recalls stabbing someone with her own hands? No. It matters not whether the murder weapon was a katana or a utility knife, as long as we know that the victim and the defendant were the only ones there. You cannot escape the fact that it was Athena Sykes who killed her own mother. I don't believe it. Why? Why does this keep happening? Every time I find a contradiction, it vanishes and the suspicion keeps coming back. It's almost as if... Now you're finally starting to get it. Your contradictions keep vanishing because the charge is true, and the suspicion keeps coming back to the defendant because that's where it belongs. Phoenix Wright, when will you open your eyes and accept the truth? Nah. It was a robot. But robots can't commit murder. That's the rule of robotics or something? Nigga! I don't want to believe it. It can't be true. Nah, but what if... Mr. Wright, you fought a good fight. I think you've done all you can do. It's over. It's done. Is giving up really the only option? Yeah. No, snap out of it, Phoenix. What's the matter with you? Giving in to doubt? I can't look back. Forward is the only way to go. No, Your Honor, not yet. It isn't over yet. Right. I can't lose sight of what's important. I believe in Athena, and I'll always believe in her. To the very end. A defense lawyer never gives up on his client. I have to pick myself up and stand firm. Make that brain of yours work, Phoenix. Hope that doesn't get taken out of context. What? The robot stuff? If I don't see a way, I'll just have to go back and look for one. Time to rethink this case thoroughly. Oh, here we go. I can see that the fact that Athena must have stabbed someone with the utility knife. This must have been what Panko witnessed as Athena's hug. But Prosecutor Blackwell didn't see the knife at the scene. That means that someone must have removed it from the lab before he arrived. Who could have taken the utility knife from the lab? Someone else. A third person was at the scene. If I trust in Athena, then I have to conclude that there was a third person at the scene. But according to Panko's testimony, Athena and her mother were the only 2 there. So then, how did this third person manage to escape Panko's detection? I know, this person must have fooled Panko's facial recognition feature by covering... their own face. The person hid their face.
But wait a minute, Panko has a heartbeat detection system too. Even if they covered their own face, Panko would have detected their presence. But she wouldn't have been able to tell who they were. Wait, that's it. The culprit could have covered their face and posed as which person to avoid detection. Metis Sykes. Person posed as the victim. The culprit posed as the victim? That would explain why Panko thought only she and Athena were there. All they had to do was take advantage of Panko's basic recognition features. The culprit used this in order to pose as the victim. Her jacket. The culprit could have posed as the victim by wearing her jacket with the ID tag on it. But it still leaves the heartbeat detection system. How did the culprit get around that? It wouldn't have worked if Panko could detect the real Dr. Sykes' heartbeat too. But does that mean that the real Dr. Sykes was already dead by that time? If that's the case, then who did Athena stab? She stabbed the victim, the defendant. Athena stabbed the real culprit. But that's it. The person Athena stabbed wasn't Dr. Sykes. It was the person who murdered her and then pretended to be her, the real culprit. Ho 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 ho. Now that Mr. Wright has finally finished thinking, let us bring this to a swift end. Please give us your verdict, Your Honor, so that we can move on to hostage negotiations. You are absolutely right, Prosecutor Edgeworth. I hereby...
Objection!
I didn't say I was finished. I was only pausing for a second, because I realized something so shocking I had to take a break and digest it. But now I know for a fact that... Miss Sykes is innocent. But Panko saw me. She witnessed the moment of the crime. Yes, Panko did witness something. She saw the hug. In other words, the moment you used the utility knife. But the person you stabbed wasn't your mother. What are you saying, Mr. Wright? The answer is simple. The person Miss Sykes stabbed was a third person posing as Dr. Sykes. What?
Objection!
Do you really expect us to swallow that, Mr. Wright? According to the robot's statements, there was no third person there. Did you really think I wouldn't see through your ludicrous grab for time?
Objection!
After all we've been through, Mr. Edgeworth, I'm disappointed. Don't you know by now that this smile of mine means I have absolute confidence? Ha, you make that pose all the time, regardless of the facts. Clonco's strange malfunction. Miss Turan, you look pale. Shall I help you to the sick bay? Mr. Turan? But that's Apollo you're talking to. Oh, this hunk of junk here is mistaking Apollo for Clay. Maybe Apollo was possessed by Clay's ghost. Hey, Angelove! Angelove, we're about to learn a big crazy thing. But how you doing? It's good to see you, my friend. There was another case of mistaken identity caused by a jacket's ID tag. All because Clonco couldn't read Apollo's facial features due to that eye patch. Like Mr. Edgeworth said, a mask could nullify the robot's facial recognition. And then, all the person would have to do is wear a jacket with the victim's ID tag to pose as her.
Objection!
I am doing good things, though. I'm doing swell, awesome, and swell good. Of all the ridiculous theories, what good would a silly disguise like that do? Have you forgotten that the robot also has a heartbeat detection system? If there was a third person at the scene, the robot would have detected them. No. I'm sorry, Mr. Edgeworth, but that doesn't count for much, I'm afraid. Because, by that time, Dr. Sykes' heart had already stopped beating. What? So does that mean... Yes, Your Honor. The person Miss Sykes stabbed... This third person who was posing as Dr. Sykes is her mother's real killer. But that's... impossible! We got edgy on the run, guys. A mask? The person I stabbed was wearing a mask? Order in the court. Miss Sykes, did you say something? Mask? Yes, I remember Ugh!
Athena? Athena, what is it?
Ugh!
Oh? Oh.
I remember a man with a mask. How could he? What did he do to my mother? My head.
Miss Sykes, are you alright?
No!
Oh. The black psyche locks. They're breaking. Boom. Kablamo, as they say.
It's all coming back to me. Everything that happened the day my mother was murdered.
They're gone. The black psyche locks are finally gone. You didn't really stab your mother, did you? It's all right, Athena. Just tell us what you saw that day.
I was drawing a picture. When I was done, I went to show it to my mom. I opened the door, and then... Nah.
It's all right. I'm right here. You're safe, Athena.
She was on the floor by the workbench with the katana sticking out of her. There was a handkerchief over her face, but I knew it was her by her clothes. And there was a man there.
A man?
Hold it!
Quiet, Your Honor. Go on, Athena.
He tried to attack me. In a panic, I grabbed the knife that was there and... He dodged at first, so I only got his clothes, but I tried again.
And this time you got him, didn't you?
I did. I remember it clearly now. The knife went into the back of his hand. Then he kicked me, and I passed out.
Well.
When I came to, my mom wasn't moving. I had to do something. I had to fix her, I thought. So I asked Ponko to move her to the operating table. Something's wrong with Mom, so I'm taking her apart to fix her.
So that's why she said that. Your Honor, as you can see, the defendant has just given us critical new testimony. A man was there before Miss Sykes arrived, a man who covered the victim's face and put on the victim's jacket. This man is the real culprit. Miss Sykes, do you have any idea who this man was?
No, I'm afraid I don't.
A few moments ago, Miss Sykes mentioned a mask. Athena, can you tell us anything else about that?
Yes, the mask. It was my mom's Japanese theater mask. I think it was the one hanging on the wall of the lab.
Ah, this mask hanging here on the wall.
It was kind of spooky, that mask. My mom used to tell me that a no mask even has the power to turn an ordinary human being into a phantom.
A phantom? It would seem that a new suspect has emerged, and that means that all suspicion against Miss Sykes has... Oh.
You see, this is precisely why I can't trust the court system. Athena Sykes is the murderer. I won't accept any other verdict.
Miss Blackwell, but this is not good.
A new suspect? Where's the proof this person ever existed? Who says it wasn't all just a dream in the little princess's groggy little head?
She's right. We don't have any hard evidence of the masked man's existence.
Objection!
Thank you, Mr. Wright. I'll never be able to repay you for all you've done. But I'm fine now, because I can say with certainty that I didn't kill my mother.
Athena, I'm so glad for you.
More and more memories are coming back now. So I'd like to say one thing if I could. Ponko came to the robotics lab at around 2 p.m. to recharge. I went to the robotics lab at around 2 p.m. for my regular recharge. Just as I was about to charge up, Athena came in and hugged Mommy Metis, and then Mommy Metis fell down. After that, I was recharging, so I don't know anything. I see where you're going with this. If Mommy Metis was really the killer in disguise... Right, then he must have come to the robotics lab before 2 p.m. Do I have anything here in the evidence that can help me find this person who came to the lab before 2 p.m.? It's the 7-year-old photo. Video, not the photo.
Take that!
Hoo hoo hoo! This is Prosecutor Blackwell leaving the scene after the incident at around 3 p.m. What I'm wondering is, does the video show anyone else passing by there before then? I don't see anything in the investigation report. Looks like they didn't check. Just as I thought. So if we rewind the footage and go back to around 2 p.m., we should be able to see the true culprit leaving the scene. But very well then, let's take a look. There. Please stop it right there. Aha. It's just like you said. There is a man leaving the scene of the crime. Miss Sykes, do you remember this person? That's him. I'm sure of it. He's wearing my mother's jacket. I did, but what I really wanted to see was her jacket. That jacket on display. That was Dr. Sykes's? So who could this be, guys? Who could this be? Can you see it? That's the slash I made with the utility knife that day. And I'm sure that knife is under that jacket somewhere. So then, everything Miss Sykes said... Exactly. It proves that Miss Sykes' memory was correct. Mr. Hat? It's Mr. Hat. Who has a scar on their hand? Let's find him. Let's examine everyone's hands, guys. Dr. Sykes' killer arrived at the robotics lab before 2 p.m. He killed her and hit her face with a handkerchief. Then, he disguised himself with Dr. Sykes' jacket and mask that were there in the lab. The culprit probably knew beforehand that Ponko charged up at 2 p.m. every day. So he waited for Ponko to come to the lab for her regular recharge. By leaving Dr. Sykes' jacket on, the culprit tricked Ponko into thinking he was Dr. Sykes, thereby making it look like she was alive up to that point in time. All to disguise the real time of death.
Objection!
It's a nice theory, Mr. Wright, but I'm afraid that it's just not possible. What? Why not? The victim's jacket is clearly visible right there in this photo. And that right there is precisely the problem. The ID tag on the jacket at the scene confirms beyond doubt that it belonged to the victim. If the person who left the lab truly was wearing the victim's jacket, then how could it possibly have wound up back at the crime scene? What's going on? That doesn't make sense. Edgeworth's right. If the culprit was wearing the jacket, how did it get back to the lab? The killer brought it back. The killer used the jacket as a disguise to make his escape, but in order to conceal that fact, he had to get the jacket back at the crime scene. So the culprit simply returned to the robotics lab later and planted it there. Contradiction resolved. Except that it would have been impossible. The only people who came into the robotics lab after the killer were Prosecutor Blackwell and the people who reported the body, and they claimed that the jacket was there when they arrived. So, when do you propose this mysterious man of yours had the chance to return the jacket? A puzzling question indeed. When did the culprit have the chance to bring the jacket back? When the body was found. The only time the culprit could have returned the jacket was when the body was found. Mr. Wright, you do realize the implication of that argument. I do. Most people, when they came across a murder, focus their attention on the body. The culprit could have taken advantage of that split second to plant the jacket. In other words, the true culprit of this case, the man known as the Phantom, was one of the first people to discover the body. I would never have thought of that.
Order! Order in the court! What is the meaning of this, Prosecutor Edgeworth? The body was discovered and reported by a group of 3 people. They were there to collect the space probe's capsule in preparation for the Hat-1 launch. One of those people had a special bag to transport the capsule in. Oh, you mean the shock-resistant bag? Correct. I suppose that if the jacket was in that bag, it could have been returned to the scene of the crime without anyone noticing. I'll see to it that you get the reports on those 3 people. You will? We should also check the facial recognition database for that robot. If this person felt the need to hide his face with the theater mask, it might mean that his facial data was once registered. Prosecutor Edgeworth? Does this mean... Have to admit, I believe Miss Sykes' memories to be credible. You win, Wright. Not that this was ever an official trial anyway. Do my ears deceive me? Prosecutor Edgeworth, are you actually conceding? Yay? Is it true, boss? Does this mean I can't believe it. It's over. I won. I proved that both Athena and Prosecutor Blackwell are innocent. Your Honor, I see no need to further prolong this trial.
Objection!
Hold on, Mr. Wright. Have you forgotten who's in charge of this trial? That's right. I'm the one who's supposed to say no need for further prolong. Not you either, Your Honor. Now silence.
The little princess who was truly beloved by Metis and who repaid the love with death. All these years, hating Athena was the only thing that kept me going. But what do I do now? Can anybody tell me? How am I supposed to go on?
Miss Blackwell. How unlike you, Aura. Metis was deeply passionate about her work, and she chose you as her partner. Isn't that?
Shut up, Simon. You know exactly how I felt about her. Her respect as a co-worker wasn't all that I wanted.
And what did you want from her?
Did you really just go there, Your Honor?
Aura, there is something I wanted to say, if you will lend me an ear. I have in my possession a lead on who Metis' murderer is.
You do?
Right, Dono? You asked me about the identity of the Phantom of 7 years past.
That's right.
The Phantom. The person Blackwell has been looking for, even from behind bars. 7 years ago, somebody hatched a plan to sabotage the Hat-1 rocket. The spy. But he was no ordinary spy. We knew naught about him, his background, appearance. We came to refer to him as the Phantom. At the time, I was working with the police to hunt him down. And then one day, a miracle occurred, and I obtained a lead on him.
Oh, how exciting! Lol. What? Oh, how exciting. What was the lead?
A recording of the Phantom's voice, but the quality was too poor for proper voice analysis. Yet I had hope. Aura's co-worker was a scientist who could analyze human emotions. So I asked her to evaluate the recording using analytical psychology.
And that scientist was Dr. Sykes. Hey Foursquare. Wolves win hype.
Wolves win? Is that a sport team, Foursquare?
And welcome to the stream. How are you?
Yes, a spy's greatest fear is to have his true identity discovered. In addition to Hat-1, Dr. Sykes' results and the recording were surely among his targets, but his search of the Space Center bore no fruit, so he must have started to panic.
He couldn't find them? But where could they have been?
Who is to say? Wow, I bet he's never let that one out of his sight all these years. How in the world did you smuggle them into prison? Oh, I have my ways. What's more, my partner is especially talented at that sort of thing.
NBA, you're number 1.
Cool. I'm glad your team won, Foursquare. I worked to lure the Phantom in by spreading rumors throughout the underworld. I was even granted permission to prosecute cases to attract the Phantom's attention. Just try to retrieve your identity, you bloody butcher. Became my taunt.
And what about the results Dr. Sykes drew up for you? Was there any useful information?
Here, you can see for yourself. But take good care of it. It's all I have left of my mentor.
I will. I'd better hold on to these real tight. Emotions rarely fluctuate and doesn't experience feelings like normal people do. His emotions rarely fluctuate rather. Classified. Emotional output of this voice extremely weak compared to typical voices. Subject deemed to have a unique psychological makeup with almost no emotional fluctuations. No emotional fluctuation? Huh. A spy who experiences no emotions, not sadness nor anger, and naturally no fear. He is the very definition of a phantom, a monster with no heart. Don't you see? This creature is the rot that destroyed our lives, and what ails us all into motion. The Phantom indeed, a fitting name for the one who has brought darkness to our world. Well then, it seems a faint image of this man has started to take shape. Based on what we have learned, I'd like all of you to conduct further investigation. This is not a formal trial, but I do want to follow protocol. If I may, I'd like to hand down my verdicts and bring these proceedings to an end. Whatever. Do what you want. You'll hear no objections from me. Yes, please, Your Honor. It's over. It's finally over. Very well. In that case, Prosecutor Blackwell, could you please take the stand? As a result of this trial, your innocence has been proven. The verdict handed down 7 years ago is hereby overturned. And now, the defendant of the current trial, Miss Athena Sykes. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright, thank you. Thank you for everything. Athena, you're more than welcome. If everyone is ready, I will now give my verdict. Oh no, who did it this time? You! Oh. No emotional flux that leads me to believe you were right. You were right. We'll see. Apollo? What is the meaning of this? Congratulations, Mr. Wright and Prosecutor Edgeworth. You uncovered the truth from 7 years ago, and you saved Prosecutor Blackwell. However, I can't allow this trial to end just yet. Crossroads of the three lawyers. Yep. But Phoenix is right. I don't know, maybe not. Why, Apollo? Why would you do this to us? Well, guys, now is a good time to update you on my Disney movie list. Last night's Disney movie was a weird one, possibly the weirdest one in my collection. If you all forgot, TBC, yep. But the rule for this collection I have is all of the movies had to have been in theaters. This movie was in a theater in like one part of the world, I think, but was mostly a straight to DVD thing. That's what this movie was. What that movie is, by the way, you know the story of Peter Pan, right? What if we gave the sidekick to Peter Pan her own movie series? And that's what the movie I watched. It's a movie called Tinkerbell. And it's fine. It's an innocent movie. If you have a young daughter, show her it and she'll like it. Yep, it's Tinkerbell. You'll love her. This movie was weird. She talked, and it showed like the day she was born. It was a very strange movie. It had a lot of season fairies. That one was made exclusively for younger girls. So, it was alright. As for me, I'd rather watch A Little Snow for Fairy Sugar. And that was my movie. Yay! Moving on. Have you gotten past Brother Bear yet? Yeah, I did. It was good. It was very strange as well, but very good. Especially with the aspect ratio changing in the middle of the film. Yeah, I passed that a while ago. Mr. Justice, please explain yourself. It's very simple. There isn't much to explain. The defendant, Miss Athena Sykes, might not be innocent. What are you talking about? This case from 7 years ago has been settled. I'm not talking about the past here. I'm talking about the present case.
It's still not clear who killed Clay Terran.
But, Apollo, why would you...
Miss Sykes, please listen quietly to what I have to say. What in the world is Apollo trying to do? Your Honor, please allow me a little of the court's time. But this is a trial for the case from 7 years ago. Miss Blackquill, I'd like to ask a favor of you. Just as you lost someone close to you, I lost someone close to me too. I'm sure you want to know the real truth of what happened as much as I do.
Apollo. Hee hee. Sure, you know I'm all for the truth. Now let's see you expose the princess's guilt. Judge, I give my permission.
Continue with the trial. But very well. Is that all right with you, Prosecutor Edgeworth? The prosecution has no objections. Let's hear Mr. Justice's testimony. Have the police investigation report brought immediately. Not you too, Edgeworth. I really hope it's because you have something up your sleeve. Very well. Your opening statement, please, Prosecutor Edgeworth. As you wish. Let's review the case of the murder of Mr. Clay Terran. It was made clear in the previous trial that Solomon Starbuck was not his killer. Therefore, the true culprit was someone else. On that day, this culprit waited for the astronauts in boarding lounge number 1 when the two men made their escape out of the Space Museum. The killer attacked Mr. Terran with the same type of knife that was used 7 years ago. The murderer then escaped into the Space Museum. Whee! Next, Director Yuri Cosmos switched the launch pads. After that, the culprit exited the Space Museum and escaped via boarding lounge 2. Therefore, this trial must make clear who Mr. Terran's true killer was. In other words, we must discover who it was that escaped through the Space Museum that day. Thank you, Prosecutor Edgeworth. Mr. Wright, is the defense ready? Yes, Your Honor. I'd better rearrange my evidence.
Relevant evidence swept into the court record.
Now then, Mr. Justice, your testimony, if you please.
Okay.
I suspected Miss Sykes of the murder of Clay Terran. My growing suspicions were confirmed when this incriminating evidence presented itself. In addition, she's the only one who could have utilized the launchpad switch to escape. That is why I wish to indict Miss Sykes on the charge of murder. Oh my God. Order in the court. Mr. Justice, you realize you are charging your own co-worker with murder, don't you? Yes, Your Honor, because that is the conclusion my investigation has led me to.
But, Apollo, why? How could you suspect me too?
Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, please. I don't get it. Just what did you find out over this past few days to make you think this? Whew. I suspected Miss Sykes of the murder of Clay Terran.
Hold it!
What first made you suspicious of Miss Sykes? It all started when Miss Sykes and I were investigating the crime scene. When she saw the weapon that killed Mr. Terran, my bracelet reacted. She said she'd never seen the knife before, but my bracelet told me otherwise. And then, every time after that, my bracelet would react when she talked about the case. Poor Apollo must have been beside himself during that investigation. I didn't know what to do or think. I couldn't even sleep. In that condition, I knew I wouldn't be of any good in court. I decided to wear an eye patch so I wouldn't be able to perceive any of her tells. So that's why Apollo was acting so strangely. But the reason Miss Sykes unconsciously reacted to the knife was that way is because she stabbed her mother's murderer with one identical to it 7 years ago.
Objection!
But that knife was also the murder weapon that was used to kill Clay Terran. My bracelet could have also reacted to her because she knew it was his killer too. I guess he has a point. But my bracelet wasn't the only reason I became suspicious of her. My growing suspicions were confirmed when this incriminating evidence presented itself.
Hold it!
That's the lighter that was found in the Space Museum with her fingerprints on it, right? But even if it seems decisive, there must be other facts that we don't know about it yet. If that's so, go ahead and prove it then. Look, honestly, I don't want to believe it's true either, but Miss Sykes was the only one who was in the Space Museum at the time of the murder. But, Mr. Justice, Mr. Sykes had absolutely no motive to kill Mr. Terran. 7 years ago, Miss Sykes lived at the Cosmos Space Center. It wouldn't be strange if she had some kind of connection to him. Besides, people sometimes kill for motives we can't even imagine. I know you've seen plenty of cases like that in your own career, Mr. Wright. I still can't believe this. How can you actually suspect Athena, Apollo? In addition, she's the only one who could have utilized the launch pad switch to escape.
Hold it!
Isn't it possible that somebody else used that same escape route? I'm afraid not, Mr. Wright. Why not? Recall that there is a security camera in boarding lounge 1 aimed at the launch pad door. It's the camera that captured Mr. Terran and Mr. Starbuck, but there's also another security camera in boarding lounge 2. It recorded Mr. Terran's killer, or rather, Miss Sykes coming out of the Space Museum. A camera in boarding lounge 2? First I've heard of it, but it makes sense. Athena said she had snuck into Space Museum the night before the incident, and then was overcome and passed out until around noon the next day. I was out until about noon of the next day. I didn't even know about the explosions. When I woke up, nobody was around, so I just went out into boarding lounge 2. That must have been when the camera captured her, and that's what made Apollo suspect her even more. But wait a minute. In that case, it most likely recorded the true culprit as well. That's a negative on that one too, Mr. Wright. In the footage taken after the incident, Miss Sykes is the only one who appears. What? Why? Order. Order in the court. That can't be, but if it is, then it is incredibly incriminating. Wasn't it you who proved it in the previous trial that the way to the true culprit escaped was via the Space Museum after the pads had been switched? A fact you previously proved turned on its ear, leaving your client high and dry. I must say, that is vintage. That is vintage Phoenix Wright. Well, weird, huh? Verti soy milk Littell? I don't know what that means. Sorry. I'm a big idiot. Nah. That is why I wish to indict Miss Sykes on the charge of murder.
Hold it!
Believing in your client to the end is a basic principle of good defense. Shouldn't you extend the same principle to your own coworker? You're probably right. Maybe I'm not even fit to be a lawyer. However, I don't care. This case is special to me. What you typed? You typed venti soy milk Littell. I don't know what that means, Star. Sorry. Clay was my friend, and that's why I just have to know the truth. Apollo suspected his trusted co-worker of killing his friend. To dispel his doubts, he investigated on his own, but that only led to more doubts. It's a beverage? Cool. Are you drinking it now? I hope it's good. Apollo must have been really struggling with this. Well, Apollo may have doubts, but I'll say it again, Athena Sykes isn't the murderer. Then I have only one thing to say. Evidence is everything in court. Well, Mr. Wright, think you have the concrete proof to knock down my arguments? Your arguments have been very clear, Mr. Justice. Venti is size, latte is coffee drink with milk. Cool. That's pretty tasty sounding. Your arguments have been clear, and your facts appear to be indisputable. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you think of my theory? It's wrong. It looks like not even you can deny it. Miss Sykes was the only one who used the only possible escape route. Under these circumstances, there can be no other suspect with the defendant. Unless you think there was an alternative escape route. Is that what you think, Mr. Wright? Is this what you think, Mr. Wright? Is that what you think, Phoenix? Was there an alternate escape route?
Of course.
Yes, of course there must have been. Just don't ask me what. You're just bluffing again, aren't you? Me? Bluff? No way. He knows me too well. It's fine, Mr. Wright. Even a bluff would suit me just fine. As long as you can clear up this doubt inside me. Wait, so is that what this is all about? I want to believe in Athena. I really do. But what is faith without doubt? That's why I need to question her guilt. So that once the truth finally comes out, I can really fully trust her. So that you can really trust me? It seems your junior partner has just showed us what trials are truly all about. I believe you're right. We prosecutors painstakingly question every detail in pursuit of the defendant, while we lawyers believe in and defend our clients to the end. And now, time for bed. Are you leaving, Star? Have a good night, my friend. I will see you tomorrow with more stuff and more games. He is right? Yep. See ya! Have a good one. When both sides go all out against each other, that's when we discover the truth. Precisely. And when the battle is over, we will understand the true meaning of trust. That is exactly what trials are about, wouldn't you agree? Yes, I couldn't ignore the seed of doubt that was growing inside me, but decided I needed to face it head on. No matter what the truth is that's waiting ahead, I won't be afraid. It's so like Apollo, always uber earnest about things like this. Mr. Justice, I vow to dispel every last bit of doubt in your heart. Good, because I want to believe in Miss Sykes again. You're really hoping there was an alternative route, aren't you, Apollo? But if I use the process of elimination, there really aren't that many possibilities. Director Cosmos was at the southern exit, leaving only the control room and the corridor to the Space Museum. Which door could the culprit have escaped through? Come on, Mr. Wright, where do you think the culprit escaped to?
She escaped to the corridor.
Take that!
They really only could have escaped to the corridor to the Space Museum. All they had to do was use the unconscious Mr. Starbucks Prince to get through the door.
Objection.
It appears that all you're trying to establish is Miss Sykes' guilt. If the culprit used that route, the only exit would have been into boarding lounge 2. The logical conclusion of your argument is that the killer is none other than the defendant. I knew it. That's the only way it could be, huh? If the culprit escaped into the corridor that leads into the Space Museum, then I guess it's true. The only exit would have been into boarding lounge 2. But Miss Sykes was the only person captured by the boarding lounge 2 security camera. Investigated the crime scene thoroughly. But the only place the culprit could have escaped to was the Space Museum corridor. There weren't any other secret corridors or anything. So that leaves us with no other conclusion to draw but that Athena Sykes was the culprit. What could the answer be? Was there really no other escape route? But, hold on a second. What if... Where did those mysterious leaves we saw in the corridor come from? What if they're a clue to the culprit's real escape route? I think it is possible that the culprit escaped into the Space Museum, but then came out using a route other than into boarding lounge 2. Oh? Launchpad number 1 and the Space Museum were switched after the bombing, meaning the Space Museum corridor was moving along the rail at the time, which is exactly what an alternative escape route opened up for our culprit. Are you kidding me? Judging by the intense look in your eyes, I take it you're serious. Very well then, Mr. Wright, do tell. Where could the culprit have gone from the museum corridor besides boarding lounge number 2? Just give me a second. Blank area. Point below the space. Okay, I'm gonna save it real quick. Blank area within rail circle. Point below the museum corridor. So, museum corridor. So here? This is where the guide kind of stinks.
Take that!
We found something odd while investigating the museum corridor this afternoon. Namely, a few dead leaves on the floor. Considering where dead leaves come from, they point us to exactly where the culprit escaped to. Right. Yes, I remember seeing some leaves myself. Ah! Do you mean? Yep. While the Space Museum was in motion just beyond the corridor's safety door, was an alternative place the culprit could use to escape. In other words, the culprit's real escape route was the area outside the Space Center. You're freaking insane!
Objection!
Do you know how impossible that would be? The corridor is level with the 3rd floor. Even if the culprit tried to leap to the outside wall of the Space Center building, they would fall to their death.
Objection!
Ordinarily, yes. But after the bombing incident, the culprit could make use of a certain item. And what item was that? And what item was it exactly, Mr. Wright? Alright, this is what the culprit used to leap to the outside wall of the main building. He used... Hang on a minute. Okay, let me find it real quick. There it is. He used the emergency ladder.
Take that!
An emergency ladder? There was an emergency ladder in the 4th floor robotics lab, and it was used the day after the explosions to help evacuate people. Miss Blackwell herself used that ladder to escape down to ground level. Recall that the launch pads were switched after the ladder was lowered. The corridor would have passed by the ladder while the pads were being switched, and that's when the culprit literally sprang into action. Emergency ladder, no! And leapt onto the ladder. What? Who would have imagined? Order in the court. Well, an alternative escape route seemed to have emerged. Which means someone other than Miss Sykes could have been the culprit, right?
Objection!
Making things up on the fly in an attempt to sway the court again, are we, Mr. Wright? Your theory has so many holes it puts Swiss cheese to shame. Alright, then, name one. I have here detailed information about the Space Center. According to this, the distance between the museum corridor and the main building during movement is a full 20 feet. 20 feet? You're pulling my leg, right? In addition to the corridor is 3 floors from the ground, or roughly 50 feet. What's more, the culprit would be leaping to a precarious place. An unstable ladder. Irk. Human beings feel fear in dangerous situations. It's a basic survival instinct. An ordinary person would certainly hesitate before jumping. Or even freeze in fear and not jump at all.
Objection!
But the culprit just had murdered someone. They weren't in an ordinary state of mind.
Objection!
Nevertheless, why would they have taken that kind of risk? They could have waited for the switch to be complete and escaped to boarding lounge 2.
Objection!
Because there was a security camera in boarding lounge 2. A culprit knew they would be recording if they left the Space Museum that way.
Objection!
In that case, the culprit could have hidden in the museum until things settled down, and then blended in with the other people and after the museum was opened. That's a good point, but you claim that despite all this, the culprit took a 20-foot death-defying leap, and all in the brief moment the corridor and ladder passed by each other? That's also a good point. They would have needed a running start while the corridor was moving to make that jump. If their timing was off or if they couldn't jump far enough, it would have been instant death. What kind of person would attempt something like that? What kind of person, guys, huh? Stop bringing up good points, Edgeworth. This true culprit of yours is nothing but a figment of your imagination. Why do you always have to point out every flaw? Mr. Edgeworth's right. That does sound pretty insane. The culprit would have to be someone who feels no fear, like a stuntman. But everyone feels fear on some level, right? Wait a minute. Aha, I've got it this time. I can prove that there was someone who could have used this alternative escape route. Oh, can you now? This proves the possibility of a person who could have used this alternate escape route. The Phantom Psych Profile!
Take that!
What's that, Mr. Wright? This is a certain person's very interesting psych profile. The subject doesn't experience feelings like normal people do. In other words, this person doesn't feel happiness, sadness, or fear. Doesn't feel fear? What? Right. You can't be serious. Without the constraint of fear, he could easily do what an ordinary person wouldn't dare. Just as you or I could do a broad jump on the ground without the slightest fear, this subject could make a 20-foot leap, 50 feet up in the air. He could choose this extreme way of escaping without hesitation. So you're saying that to a person without fear, the alternative route would be quicker and eliminate the chance that they'd be spotted? It's definitely pretty extreme, Mr. Wright. But was there such a person there at that scene? Yes. The Phantom, the mysterious shadowy figure who keeps popping up. Oh dear. The Phantom. Again? I knew the Phantom was there behind the scenes of the Space Center bombing, but I wasn't sure if he was connected to the murder of Clay Terran as well. However, now it's all clear. The Phantom is the one who not only bombed the Space Center, but also killed Clay Terran. Mr. Terran. What? Order in the court! Order, I say! Mr. Wright, please continue! There were just too many similarities between this case and the one from 7 years ago. But why, you may ask? It can only be because both incidents were the work of the same Phantom. So then, this Phantom is the one who killed Clay? But who is he? This Phantom has been haunting this case, pulling the strings in the background. Who could it be, guys? Who's the Phantom? Who is it? Who could this unidentified international spy be? Right, this escape route must have been part of the Phantom's plan from the start, as it was tricking the Director Cosmos into switching the launch pads. The bomb on the second floor was meant to make the elevators and stairs unstable, or unusable rather. That's why he gave advance warning and planted the bombs where he did. Yes, I think you're right. But it doesn't explain this one last thing. So I lowered my emergency ladder like the detective leading the evacuation told me to. But it was such a pain. Why couldn't they have used the ladders in the other rooms? The robotics lab wasn't the only room with an emergency ladder. but he couldn't have made that leap unless he was certain which one it would be. So you mean the Phantom must be someone who knew that particular ladder was going to be used? That's right. Who could it be? Wait a minute. So I lowered my emergency ladder like the detective leading the evacuation told me to. Miss Blackwell lowered the ladder after being told to by the detective leading the... Ah! You've got to be kidding me. Did you figure it out, Wright? Do you know who the Phantom is? Yes, I do. Who is it? Who killed Clay? Our mystery spy, known as the Phantom, is none other than... It took 5 games, but you had a good eye. You have a good eye for this now. I guess you do. Well, for those that don't know, the Phantom is none other than... After the explosions, a member of the staff crossed paths with a certain detective. Someone better pick up the phone. Yep, because you freaking called it. You know it. I was on duty on the 4th floor. It was quite the madhouse, I tell you. As for the detective who was leading the evacuation from the 4th floor, he had a very specific objective in mind. So I lowered my emergency ladder like the detective leading the evacuation told me to. His objective was to secure his own escape route. We lowered an emergency ladder from a 4th floor window and escaped that way. Once everyone else got out safely, I made my way down too and headed to the shelter. This is a detective you all know. He's even the lead detective on the current case. He appears to be a very emotional man, but his psych profile says he is without emotion.
Take that!
Dun 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 dun. What? Are you saying... You mean the Phantom is... Detective Bobby Fulbright? Exactly. We were all taken in by his fake persona. Detective Fulbright's real identity is the Phantom. Order in the court. Mr. Wright, how could this be? That's easy, Your Honor. Detective Fulbright was leading the 4th floor evacuation effort. Our first clue is that he made no attempt to have any other ladder put to use. The ladder in the robotics lab is the only one he ordered to be lowered. The second is that he directed everybody to the basement shelter via this ladder. Verily, it was all in part of his plan to create an escape route. After Detective Fulbright saw to it that the ladder was lowered from the robotics lab, he went to the lounge where he killed Clay Terran and escaped into the Space Museum. The museum started moving slowly, so we waited for the right time and got a running start. And just as the corridor was passing the ladder, he leapt onto it. Grr, I don't believe it. That addle-padded detective did all that. Was it really him? I mean, all this time I thought... Sorry, we didn't catch your name. My name? I'm Bobby Fulbright, the heroic detective who defends our good citizens from evil, the champion of justice who comes running whenever you're in need. And my catchphrase, it's in justice we trust. Then, his concern for Simon was also all just one big act? I swear to reform Prosecutor Blackwell and make him a valued member of society again. So I can't just sit by and watch him give in to his emotions and tear the defendant apart. That monster killed Clay? He had me completely fooled. Come to think of it, he's the one who brought that bloodstained lighter to court too. The scumbag even made me turn on Athena. Damn it, how the hell did I fall for all that? For him to have wormed his way into the police department as well. Nah. Your Honor, the defense demands to question Detective Bobby Fulbright. Yes, I agree that we need to hear from him right away. The court will take a short recess and then Detective Fulbright will take the stand. Oh my gosh, guys, have we finally arrived at the answer? Is Bobby Fulbright the real murder?
Thank you so much, Mr. Wright. If it wasn't for everything you did, I...
Don't thank me yet. We still have an uphill battle to fight.
You got it, boss. Apollo.
Well, this is awkward.
Athena, can you do me a favor?
Huh? What is it?
Could you...
Punch me, please.
What? Why should I do that?
Because I should have believed in you. I let the seed of doubt inside me get the best of me. I'm really sorry that I didn't trust... Ouch! Don't be such a dope. I was really touched by what you did. Huh? Now what are you talking about? I want to believe in Athena. I really do. But what is faith without doubt? That's why I need to question her guilt. So that once the truth finally comes out, I can really fully trust her.
Smacked him anyway.
Yep. Smacked him pretty fast, too.
You took the time and effort to genuinely think about who I am and what I'm made of. After all that, how could I punch a true friend like you, Apollo? You didn't have any trouble slapping him a second ago.
Thanks, Athena. And thanks for waking me up to reality again.
Guess I know now who to call if I ever get sleepy in court.
It looks like you have some promising young people working under you.
Edgeworth. Yeah, I think they're pretty great myself, and they're not afraid to keep me in line. Anyway, I have some very good news. Aura Blackwell has surrendered and the hostages have been set free. Trucy and all the others? Oh, thank goodness.
Miss Blackwell said she had something she really needed to do, so I granted her special permission to do what she must.
I wonder what it is.
Miss Blackwell! I didn't come to apologize, if that's what you're thinking. My actions are what allowed the truth of what happened 7 years ago to come to light. But I did come because I had something to say to all of you.
Miss Aura!
She'd better not be here to complain about something. Miss Blackwell, I want to apologize to you. The fact that you couldn't trust the court system is our fault.
Yes, it's true the courts are filled with incompetent idiots. Still, suppose I could let you handle the rest of this case for me. Oh, Miss Aura, does this mean you're starting to trust the system again?
No, of course not. Be quiet, hunk of junk.
It's just, I wouldn't mind if you were the ones who took Metis' killer down.
Leave it to us. We'll get him.
So I guess that means she's starting to trust us at least.
Aura.
Simon, I'm so glad both you and the princess were cleared of all suspicion. And it's all thanks to me and my robots. You'd better be grateful.
I never imagined you would go that far.
Though you always were extreme, but I don't recall ever requesting your help. As closed as ever, I see. Well, now that you've been released, I guess it's my turn to go live in the slammer. Just hope you're not the prosecutor for my trial. You'd probably give me the death penalty.
You know me all too well.
I guess love can take on a variety of expressions, including stunted in their case. Damn right, after all, the prosecutor's office still employs
The Payne brothers. Oh yeah, yes they do. But I truly was about to be executed tomorrow. Though, because of you, it looks like I won't be crossing the Styx just yet. You have my heartfelt thanks, Aura. I'm sorry I caused you so much anguish.
Simon. Sniffle. I'm so glad, Simon. So very glad to hear you say that.
Aura.
All right, that's enough of that. Bailiff, take me to the detention center.
What Miss Blackwell did was inexcusable, but it's clear she did it out of love for her brother.
I still can't wrap my mind around Detective Fulbright being the Phantom.
I can't believe he killed Clay. Right, and murdered my mentor, which brought great distress upon little Athena. Chief Prosecutor? Yes. I would ask a favor. Would you allow me to stand at the prosecutor's bench for this trial? I wish to claim the Phantom's head by my own hand.
That was my plan all along. After all, it's highly unconventional for a man of my position to stand in court.
Sir.
The former paperwork has yet to be filed, but you are hereby conditionally released.
Sadly, Edgeworth won't be the prosecutor in this case anymore. Real question, where the F is Trucy? Oh, she's somewhere else. She's elsewhere. Please take the prosecutor's bench in your official capacity and uncover the truth by your own hand. I'm much obliged. The day to part with these has come at last. Chief Prosecutor, could you...
Yay!
How long have I waited? Maybe it's the sense of freedom, but even the air seems fresher, the light brighter. And I will relish slashing that blackguard Fulbright to shreds without mercy.
He's free! I don't have to be able to read his heart to see how happy he is. Sniffle! I'm so glad, but I won't
cry just yet. After all, we've still got a trial to finish. It's okay to cry, Athena. I promise. Prosecutor Blackquill, Mr. Wright, please avenge Clay's death for me. What are you talking about, Apollo? You're coming to the defense's bench with me. I am? Well, I can't expect Athena to assist me now, can I? She's the defendant. That leaves you, Apollo. But are you sure you want me? I took a leave of absence and everything. Well, our office is pretty short-handed, and you're all I've got. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Apollo. Athena, I can say it with all my heart now. I believe in your complete innocence, and now we're going to prove it to the world. Thank you, Apollo. I knew you can do it.
Hey!
So, you won't be needing that eye patch anymore, right? Right, because I'm fine now.
Cool. Now this is the Apollo I know.
Welcome back, Apollo.
It's almost time for the trial to restart, though it looks like you have things well in hand. Yep, I should head back to the prosecutor's office. But why? I want to look into a few things, namely, the first people on the scene 7 years ago, the facial data registered by the robot, and Detective Fulbright's backstory. Sounds great, Edgeworth. Thanks. I expect to be repaid with a victory, right? Now, if you'll excuse me.
Okay, you two all set to go? You bet I am. Let's do this. Let's do this.
This is it, the final battle. The murder of Apollo's friend, the courtroom bombing incident, and the case that ushered in the dark age of the law 7 years ago. Destiny has called us to bring the one responsible for it all to justice today. And so help me, we're gonna effing do it. I mean, flipping do it. Let us now reconvene. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution has never been more ready.
You know, this is the first time we've been at the defense bench together since I debuted. Now that you mention it, although back then I thought you were more loud than you were reliable.
You've really come a long way since then, Apollo. You've grown a lot.
Well, there have been some hiccups, but I guess I've done pretty well.
He's still got that ego of his, though. Prosecutor Blackwell, with the 7-year mistake now resolved, you can finally take your rightful place. Yes, I guess we can keep the chit-chat for later. But bailiff, please bring in the witness immediately.
Even with those handcuffs off, Prosecutor Blackwell seems to be pretty much the same.
7 years of grumpiness doesn't go away so easily, I guess. Oh, there he is. Bobby Fulbright here. I heard I was needed on the stand, so here I am. Detective Fulbright, do you know why you have been called to give testimony? Yep, because there's only one reason why I'd be called. And that is because it's time for justice. In justice we trust.
Objection!
You can't fool us with that act anymore. Your justice is nothing but lies. What? Are you questioning the integrity of my sense of justice?
I mean, sure, sometimes I make mistakes, but hey.
He's acting exactly the same as always. Tell me about it.
He must be feeling awfully confident.
Fulbright, if you wish to dispel our suspicions, then let's get to your testimony. Alright, fine. You want me to prove my righteousness? I can certainly do that. The embodiment of justice. I am the very embodiment of justice itself. I won't have you make me into a villain with your far-fetched arguments. And this bit about the escape route is only a theory. You don't have any proof. What we do have is proof that Athena Sykes is the culprit, this lighter with her prints on it. So you're saying the suspicions against you are completely false? And that the defendant is the real culprit? That's right. Mr. Lawyer's escape route is totally circumstantial. He doesn't have any proof that I made a big leap onto a ladder. You don't have proof. You are correct about that. However, you don't have any proof for your claim either.
Nah, I guess you're right.
But you can't define justice with evidence. Who can define it anyway? Justice? Justice is...
Objection!
Just is. Don't make me break out a dictionary on you.
Nah, please don't throw the book at me.
Tell me the Phantom didn't just make me set up a stupid pun for him. Let's just try not to lose focus, alright? But my justice is crystal clear. What's not clear are your eyes. Wake up and smell the justice.
Silence!
Enough of your rubbish, Fulbright. If you have even an ounce of justice, then you will answer the court's questions and prove it. Prosecutor Blackwell.
Prosecutor Blackwell looks torn. Well, Fulbright was his partner after all.
Prosecutor Blackwell is right. The truth will be revealed in the cross-examination. Suspicions against Detective Fulbright are, at this point, only suspicions. As is my duty, I will judge the claims against the detective as impartially as I can. Does anyone have any objections? That's fine, Your Honor. Ha 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 ha. Now ask away and don't hold back. Well, there don't appear to be any objections. Very well, Mr. Wright. Please begin your cross-examination. Excuse me. Ha 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 ha. I am the very embodiment of justice itself. I won't have you make me into a villain with your far-fetched arguments.
Hold it!
My arguments are hardly far-fetched. There's careful reasoning behind my theory. Yes, well, apparently there's reasoning behind even a tofu burger. But what we have against Miss Sykes, though, is not just reasoning, but solid evidence. And it's called the lighter, with Miss Sykes' fingerprints on it in the victim's blood. Yes, that's true, but wait, Detective Fulbright was the one who brought that evidence to the trial. If you harbor any suspicions, I suggest you ask Fulbright, Right Dono, especially about that lighter. He's right, but what exactly should I ask about? I should ask about the number of prints. So how many prints were found exactly? 3. The thumb, the index finger, and the middle finger of a right hand. Your Honor, that is an important statement. Could we please have it? Add it to my testimony? You got it. He beat me to it. Ha ha ha. Be investigating or testifying, speed is the key. Alright. 3 pins were on the lighter, the thumb, index, and middle fingers of a right hand. Okay, well that's the thing, or a statement. The perp held a lighter with an earth emblem on it in their left hand, a knife in their right.
Objection!
Excuse me. You say the prints were from a right hand, is that correct? That's right, very clear prints. But that just doesn't add up. Huh? What doesn't add up? According to Miss Blackwell, who saw the culprit herself, this person held that lighter in their left hand. Oh? So here's the dilemma before us. Why are the prints on the lighter from a right hand instead of a left? Nah. You're right. It doesn't make sense, does it? Your Honor, this lighter can hardly be called incriminating evidence. The witness claims don't even hold water. Detective Fulbright, I hope you have a good explanation for this. I just can't understand it. They're definitely right-hand prints. But then, why are they inconsistent with Miss Blackwell's statement? I've got it. What have you got, Detective? The mirror. The witness must have seen a reflection of the culprit in the mirror. Go on. Miss Blackwell was looking in through the window of boarding lounge 1, wasn't she? I believe so. If you mean the little window in the back and to the right of the room, that's right. And across the room on the opposite wall is a large mirror. I do remember seeing it. So are you saying... Yes, the culprit Miss Blackwell saw must have been a reflection of that person in the mirror. I see. In that case, right and left would appear reversed, wouldn't they? Now do you see? That's the logic of pure justice.
Objection!
But your argument is only conjecture. You don't have any proof that what Miss Blackwell saw was a reflection.
Silence.
Right, Dono. You'd sooner nick yourself than him like that. Put some more muscle into it. Huh? That's right. Besides, the lighter couldn't have been in the left hand. And why not? Miss Blackwell said she saw an earth emblem on the lighter, didn't she? That emblem is only on one side of the lighter. You're right. There's no emblem on the other side. Exactly, as black and smooth as the judge's fine scalp. If the culprit had held the lighter in their left hand, they wouldn't have covered the emblem. Uh-oh. What's more, this is the kind of lighter you flick open with your thumb before lighting. So if the culprit had held it in their left hand with the emblem out and visible, they wouldn't have been able to open it, let alone light it. But if they had held it in their right hand, they could easily open it and light it. This all means that the culprit was definitely holding the lighter in their right hand. No! Come back, my beautiful contradiction. It appears you planted a flower that bears no fruit. Ha 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 ha. See how it withers before my flower of justice? He's tough. He's managed to discredit almost everything I've proven up to this point. In justice we trust, now do you see? I'm not this phantom you've been talking about. I mean, are you sure there really is a spy? I bet they're just figments of your imagination. Sob, oh, it's so sad, so very sad, but I'm afraid Miss Sakes is the culprit.
Hold it!
Detective Fulbright, I believe you said that the emblem is only on one side of the lighter. Are you sure about that? Of course I'm sure. Why don't you take a look for yourself and see? Do you see an Earth emblem on both sides of the lighter? Oh. I knew it. You're lying, Detective. Pardon me? You mean... Yes, my bracelet's reacting to his statement about the emblem. He's definitely hiding something big. And I think if we use my talent, we might be able to figure it out. Justice Dono, are you to use that cheat of yours again? It's not cheating, Prosecutor Blackwell. Very well. Whether I like it or not, I suppose we should use whatever works right now. Go on then. You have Prosecutor Blackwell's reluctant blessing, apparently. Okay, Apollo, you're up. Here goes then. Detective Fulbright, could you repeat that last statement one more time? Give me a second. What in the world are you up to? Alright, fine. I'll say it as many times as you like. Listen carefully. The Earth emblem is the only on the side that you can see when the elders... The Earth emblem is only on the side that you can see when held on the right hand. Okay, God, you're a freaking liar. Give me a second. Alright, I missed it. Guide was wrong. The guide said focus on his left hand, but it's actually his right hand. The Earth emblem.
Gotcha!
Gotcha!
Detective Fulbright, you might not be aware of it yourself, but whenever you say the phrase the Earth emblem, your left thumb moves. In fact, it appears as though you're running it along the edge of your holster. Mr. Lawyer, I don't have the foggiest notion of what you're talking about. This is his left hand, he's facing you, therefore his left is your right. That's so annoying. How am I supposed to know that? Be that as it may, I know it has something to do with the lighter. Let me examine it. But why? You're not making any sense. You can't just...
Silence!
Be still and do as you're told, Fulbright. If you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't mind them having a look-see, should you? What? Not you too, Prosecutor Blackquill? I'm not sure where this is all about, but if Prosecutor Blackquill insists, it must be something important. I will allow the defense to examine the lighter. Good. Now maybe we'll learn something new. Hope so. Let's check every inch of this thing. Like... that. So this is the Earth emblem Detective Fulbright was talking about. See anything noteworthy? Huh? Hey, look at this. The emblem's actually some kind of button. Oh. Oh. Wow, it transformed into something. A handle. A trigger. Is this what I think it is? Oh, you getting sleepy? Aw, I'll see you later, Mafia babe. Have a good one, alright? See you tomorrow. Thank you for stopping by, as always. There's no question. It seems what you have there is a gun. A what? A gun. So, that's it. Your Honor, please recall this morning's trial, when Director Cosmos was on the stand. The bullet that hit the oxygen tank was extremely small, maybe a .10 caliber. This little compact gun probably takes bullets of that caliber. It looks like this is the gun that was fired at the scene. I'm flabbergasted. The lighter was a gun? It's when Detective Fulbright would touch his holster. That's right, whenever he mentioned the Earth emblem, he must have subconsciously thought about the secret behind the lighter. In other words, he knew it was a gun from the very beginning. A lighter that transforms into a gun seems like a spy gadget to me. It's not the kind of thing that any ordinary person can get their hands on. In fact, I'd say it's strictly in the domain of elite spies. Dr. Fulbright, you will explain yourself. There's nothing for me to explain. Good night, Mafia Dave. I didn't know the lighter could transform. I mean, it was found in the Space Museum, and then I brought it straight in. Didn't even have time to check it out.
Objection!
Whenever you mentioned the Earth emblem, you touched your holster. You subconsciously did that because you knew it was a gun. Accuse me all you want, but where is your proof? Do you have any evidence that I knew the lighter was a gun? Not exactly. And whose prints are on it? Miss Sykes' prints. It proves that she's the culprit who fired the gun at the scene. Arg. It would appear that the detective is right. Are you guys really trying to prove your client innocent or what? Although it pains me to do this, now that we are where we are, I have to make the following assertions coming from the prosecution side. The person who fired that gun at Director Cosmos is in the lounge after the incident, and the person Miss Blackwell saw holding the lighter, and the person who murdered Mr. Terran, and the person who bombed the Space Center, are all the defendants Athena Sykes. The prints on the lighter are decisive proof. No! Now do you see? A man on the side of justice cannot possibly be the culprit. And I think this about sums up Miss Sykes' part in this whole affair. The evidence certainly does seem to point to the defendant's guilt. Do you have anything to say, Prosecutor Blackwell? Evidence is everything in court. Therefore, Fulbright's claims stand firm. But calm down, Apollo. He's just saying that because he has to as the prosecutor. Mr. Lawyer, our job is to pursue criminals in the name of justice. You shouldn't cast suspicion on people based on something as dubious as a habit. In fact, you have a bad habit of showing up in court with an awful case of bedhead.
Objection!
Says the man who wears sunglasses at night. If it's proof you want, it's proof you'll get. I'll prove that this lighter is not Miss Sykes's, but yours. How's that you hit on something, Apollo? It's just, if the prints on the lighter are the basis for accusing Athena, I think we should reconsider the credibility of the evidence itself. You mean, you think this lighter might be forged evidence? That's right, it could all be part of Fulbright's bigger plot. Did he do anything out of the ordinary while I was off on my own? I can definitely think of a few things. It is indeed. Have a look at this. What's this? A lighter? Detective, we'd like to run a comparison on some prints we found in the boarding lounge. Ah, yes. I just happen to have compiled the print data out of everyone related to this case. I can always make another copy for myself, so it's all yours. Consider it a gift. We assume he's been laying a big trap for us all along. There's gotta be something off about this piece of evidence. What's wrong with the lighter as a piece of evidence? The owner of the prints. Are they really Athena's fingerprints? They definitely match her print data. But what about the data itself? Detective Fulbright, you were the one who provided us with the lighter and print data. Isn't that correct? Yes. What about it? You say Mrs. Sykes' prints matched the print data, but I have to wonder, was the data you used official? Mr. Wright, are you suggesting that the evidence might have been fabricated? I guess there's only one way to find out. Let's re-examine the prints. Using the official sanctioned print data of the people involved in this case. What? You dare insult the epitome of justice and integrity? There's no need for such antics.
Silence.
Your Honor, I lent my voice to the defense's request. You must allow the test to be rerun. Very well then, Bailiff. It appears that the official data is here. And the results? It's just as the defense claims. That proves that the prints on the lighter do not belong to the defendant. Nah. Yes. The fingerprints actually belong to the victim, Mr. Clay Terran. Those were Clay's fingerprints on the lighter? Ah, I see. Come to think of it, wasn't it you, Fulbright, who collected the victim's prints? I personally removed his glove during the investigation. We had to get his fingerprints to confirm his identity, after all. When you took the deceased's fingerprints, you could have easily planted his prints on the lighter with his blood, after which you wiped the blood off of his hand. Nah. By your own admission, you were also the one who compiled the phony print data, all to put the blame on Miss Sykes. Nah. This ploy must have been to distract us from the Phantom who was behind everything. You were out to create the impression that the Phantom wasn't the true culprit. So, does this mean Detective Fulbright really is the Phantom? Remember the killer's escape route. No ordinary person would have been fearless enough to attempt it. Nobody but the Phantom, the man with no emotions, could have done it. Nah. Detective Fulbright, you were the only one who could have used that escape route. Nah. Fulbright, are you really the Phantom? Answer me, or so help me, I will slash you to tiny slivers where you stand. Hug. Alright, I'll talk. I confess. I'm not the Phantom.
Silence.
It's all over. Now be a man in a minute already. But I'm not a spy. I'm an undercover investigator. I've actually been after the Phantom myself. An undercover investigator? So that sounds less than wholesome to me. A person who hides his identity and secretly investigates in order to uncover information. And that's what you really are, Fulbright. That's right, I was working to track down the Phantom, but sadly, even though I was supposed to catch the spy ended up catching me. He took my family hostage and forced me to cooperate with him. What?
Objection!
You're telling us this now? But if what you are saying is true, then who was the mystery person Miss Blackwell and Mr. Starbuck saw? It was the Phantom, I tell you. All I did was help him by having that emergency ladder lowered for him. I don't believe you. Then how do you explain the fabricated lighter? That was also one of the Phantom's demands. Being the detective in charge of the case, it was easy for me to fabricate evidence. Pinning the crime on Athena Sykes was just another one of the Phantom's orders. And you expect me to buy that? Fulbright, what was the Phantom's ultimate objective? I was told it was to sabotage the rocket launch. Someone who didn't want the launch to happen must have given him the order. Actually, I have to apologize to you too. The Phantom told me to get close to you. He ordered me to get back that psych profile you have on him. So he sent up his buzzard of his own to tell me the past year, did he? I haven't been a champion of justice. I've just been a pawn of evil. A pawn of the Phantom who stole the moon rock and killed Dr. Sykes 7 years ago. Enough, Fulbright. Just tell us the Phantom's true identity. I don't know. He was very careful to hide it. He had top secret information for all kinds of corporations and countries. So there's a number of organizations that want him dead. If people believed I was the Phantom, I could be killed on the spot. Why, I bet even now. There are assassins lurking nearby. This case is about the Phantom after all. With the ceiling blown off, I suppose you are vulnerable to a sniper shot in this courtroom. Just 2 seconds ago, Fulbright was treating Athena like a criminal. Does he really think he's going to lie his way out of it now? But on the surface, everything does seem to make sense. This could be bad, Mr. Wright, if we can't find a flaw in his logic. He's right. After we've come all this way, we can't let Fulbright wriggle free now. There, I finally told the truth. Now I hope you see how foolish it was to think I was the Phantom. Ooh. You're an intelligent man, Prosecutor Blackwell. You believe me, right? I believe you. I don't think you're the Phantom. What? How can you say that, Prosecutor Blackwell? It's obvious he's the Phantom.
Silence!
Evidence is everything, right, Dono? And you must admit there's no clear evidence that Fulbright is the Phantom. Nah. Yes, as I recall, the only solid proof we've seen up to this point is the fact that Detective Fulbright fabricated evidence. But... I've known Fulbright here for a year now, and all this time he's been quite intent on rehabilitating me. I don't believe his efforts were a lie. Prosecutor Blackwell! You still love how surprised that Hawk gets whenever Blackwell drops his hand. I do like that too. This fool truly thought he could reform a death row inmate like me. He went so out of his way in his efforts for me. He actually became quite a nuisance, really. Prosecutor Blackwell, you believe me. Please tell me Prosecutor Blackwell hasn't really been taken in by this big phony. However, even if it was against your will, you still acted as the Phantom's accomplice. You will have to pay the price for that. Throw yourself at my mercy, and don't you ever betray me again. Have you got that? Yes, thank you. Oh, thank you. Sniffle, sniffle, sniffle. Such a bond of trust is a rare and beautiful thing. In any case, it looks like everything has been resolved. I can now hand down the not guilty verdict with confidence. Very good. I'm very glad to hear it. It's all over. Everything's been cleared up, and Miss Sykes will go free as well. Mr. Wright, we can't let the trial end here. If we do, the Phantom, the man who killed Clay, will get away. I know, but... Alright, what do I do? I don't have any proof that Detective Fulbright is the Phantom. Is this it? Is he going to get away just like that? Now, if you'll excuse me, my next investigation awaits. And with that, I am off. Welp. Oh. The defense? No, wait. Not the defense. The defendant feels it's not time for a verdict yet and would like to see this trial continue. What? But I was just about to declare you innocent of all charges. It just doesn't feel right to be standing here. Hey, Apollo, think you could scooch over? Haha. Here we go. Athena, what are you doing? Hope we don't get held in contempt of court. I have some questions for you, Detective Fulbright. Are you relieved that you are no longer under suspicion of being the Phantom? Are you grateful to Prosecutor Blackwell for what he's done for you? Of course I am, and I'm truly grateful from the bottom of my heart. Athena, where are you going with these questions? I've yet to hear a single emotion behind any of Detective Fulbright's words, boss. Suspicion against him has been cleared up, but he's not feeling happy at all. What? Does that mean... We may not have any evidence, but the heart doesn't lie. That's it. With your special ability, we just might be able to stop him. Your Honor, the detective has been deeply traumatized by our accusations. Yes, well, even before all this, I thought he was a rather odd fellow. If he doesn't get counseling right away, who knows what might happen to him? Prosecutor Blackwell, can you believe the nonsense the defense is spouting? Fulbright, I think you'd better have that counseling. Not you too! You've been making batty remarks ever since you were accused of being the Phantom. Such as you're an undercover investigator and your family has been taken hostage. I fear you might have finally lost it. But I thought you believed in me.
Silence!
Oh, how you amuse me so. What's going on here? That was an excellent bit of psychological manipulation just now, Simon. I knew you would catch on, Athena. Huh? Mind filling me in here? Hee hee, guess we left you in the dust, huh, Mr. Wright? Simon was only pretending to believe Detective Fulbright, because he knew I had noticed there was a lack of emotion like joy or relief in his responses. So he gave me the chance to take a listen, and listen I did to the voice of Detective Fulbright's heart. What? You two were working together just now? Come now, Athena. Show us what's inside Fulbright's heart. You got it. Time to check the instant replay. Widget, mon ami, let's do this. Get ready for the craziest emotion thing ever, guys. Thank you for believing in me, Prosecutor Blackquill. I am an undercover investigator, but the Phantom was coursing me. He stole the moon rock and killed Dr. Sykes 7 years ago. I'm a bad person for cooperating with such a man. But he took my family hostage. What else could I do? Even with all his over-the-top expressions and gestures, he's registering no emotion at all? It's just like I thought, and right in line with the Phantom Psych profile. Detective Fulbright, this lack of emotion proves you're the Phantom. Oh? Hey, what's going on? Wait, hold it. What do you think you're doing, Detective? Me? I'm not doing anything. You're trying to hack into the Moon Matrix program. I can't do anything with it like this. Gah! Fancy device you have there, but I'll tolerate no cheating. Thank you. Sorry about that. As an undercover agent, I tend to use my secret arsenal without even thinking. More like as a spy. Thanks, Prosecutor Blackquill. There, now that you can't hack me anymore, I dare you to try to hide your lack of emotions from us. Lack of emotion? What are you talking about? Of course I have feelings. Sob, as a matter of fact, you've wounded me very deeply with that accusation. What's going on? All of a sudden I'm getting an overwhelming happy reading. Huh? But he's literally crying us a river over there. Oops, my mistake. How about this? Grah! Yikes, now he's angry all of a sudden? What's he trying to pull? Like as not, it would appear our friend is not completely without emotion. It's just as it says in Dr. Sykes' profile of the Phantom. The subject has a unique psychological makeup with almost no emotional fluctuation. Oh, I get it. So he has some emotions, right? Precisely, which leads me to wonder why you can't sense any emotions from him at all. I believe it's most likely because he is controlling his emotions. Very good, Prosecutor Blackquill, you are correct. It's the result of my daily training. A very important skill for us undercover investigators, you know? More like for us spies. Seriously. But I wonder why he suddenly shows several strong emotions. Wait a minute. I think I know. I sense there's a feeling you're trying to hide with your exaggerated emotions, Detective. A feeling I'm trying to hide? That's a good one. You're the one who's been saying I'm the Phantom because I don't have any emotions. I was just trying to show you the range of deep emotions I truly possess. Then you have no objection to me analyzing you, right? No, analyze away. But I will state it again, I am not the Phantom, and be forewarned that your analysis will have no effect, because you're about to see what an undercover agent can really do. Oh my gosh. Me, the Phantom? No way. Oh, I'm so sad, Sub. See, I told you I have emotions.
How dare you accuse me of being someone who would kill over a moon rock?
Notice something different, guys? Look at the happy emote. It's flashing off and on. Same for the angry one. And same for the surprise one. But look what the afraid one is doing. It's not turning off. I found it. I found the one emotion you're truly feeling. So I'm at a crossroads right now, guys. I would predict that there's 30 minutes left in this case. Maybe more, maybe less. Well, maybe less. Should I continue? Or should I do this tomorrow? If you're all willing to wait for 30 more minutes. What do you guys think? Give me your opinions in chat super quick. I'm gonna drink of water. Whew. Honestly, man, stick it out till Thursday. Now, what does that mean? That's a phrase I don't hear all that often. What does stick it out mean? Does that mean continue or not continue? There is the DLC after all. You won't be short for content. So does that mean stop now or keep going? Stop now or keep going? What should I do? What do you assume I should do? Stop for the evening. Alright. I will stop for the evening, which is actually good, because there's something I want to do real quick. I kind of forgot to do this last time. So, give me a second, guys. It is time for a different case. Translate yourself. Yeah. Just terms that I don't know very well. What? New updates for Switch Online. A bike game and whatever the flip that is. Okay. Anyway, everyone. So you know what this means though, right? It means you guys gotta get here a little bit early. Because things in this case are about to get really, really insane. Really, really, really insane, actually. So you'd have to be here early if you want to catch the insane parts. But yeah, I want to know who won. So let's see who won. You was just playing? Ooh, Angel Love playing. So you already know. Don't tell me, alright? Deep Cut, Energy Splatfest, here we go. Aye aye, breaking news hot off the press. What's got you all flustered? Aye, it's the Splatfest results, get hype. Don't need to tell me twice, yeah! Alright, here we go. First up, Splatfest sneak peek results. The team with the most conch shells was... Oh boy. Something tells me Baby Chicks lose. Wow, they crushed it. Next up, which team got the most votes? Get on the bandwagon for... Aye aye, come on, come on. Aye 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 aye. I just never get lucky with choosing, guys. Pow ha, aye. No way. Aye aye, what's next? Tell me. Time for a clout check. Open Pro and Tricolor clout results incoming. All at once. Hold up, I need some time to cool off or whatever. Aye 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 aye. Hey. Yeah. Yeah. Woo! Aye. And last but not least, the part you've been waiting for. Final results, right? Spell 'em. Listen up, it's going down. The overall Splatfest win goes to... I can't take the suspense. Bobby Bears. Boom, pow. Bear Cubs claw out a victory. Bear Cubs are adorable. I know. Ouch, egg on my face.
But my little bunny army.
Aye aye, great work, Bear Cub Club. All the Splitsville heard you roar.
Suppose this'll teach us to count our baby chicks before they hatch. Team Little Bunnies did their best, but the luck just wasn't in their feet this time.
I still swear I've seen something a lot of it like a bear cub somewhere before.
You sure? Because you don't see cutie patooties like this every day. Oh, I know. You must be thinking of little Judd.
Aye aye, hey, they do look kinda alike. The ear shape is off, but you might be right. Well, glad that's clears up my schedule for some freelance work.
Oh, wild. I was just thinking of doing some of that myself.
Maybe later we could head off to Grisco and... Wait a second.
Well, that's a wrap, everyone. Catch you later.
Well, there we go, guys. I have not chosen the right team in quite a long time. But that's the luck. That's the luck of Splatfest. Alright, guys. Tomorrow will be more Skyrim and more of that Zwei game. And hope you look forward to the end of Phoenix Wright. Dual Destinies in 2 days. And by the end of Phoenix Wright, I mean the end of the main game. Because there's still DLC. But yeah, be well, guys. Have a good one. Why do I try? I hate Splatoon 3. Ouch. Poor guy. Ooh, good night. Good night, Angel Love. Thanks for sticking around. Y'all have a good night. I have some, I have a thing to watch. A Disney thing. Take care.
Bye.